NBA playoffs on NBC.
Christian Javier brings it. There it goes. Swanson touches one off. 5-0 Atlanta here in the fifth. 6 seconds. Murray hits it downfield. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Chicago with the lead. Timeout, Utah.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Lewis Sports Network. We are talking NBA playoffs here on the channel. You guys already know what the deal is, man. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are turned on. Make sure you're sharing on your social media platforms. Appreciate it. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Saturday evening. Second straight live stream, not of basketball. My first one was doing baseball. I did the Yankees and the Royals, and congratulations to my Yankees. We are now 15-6, and we've won 8 straight games. Very, very excited about that. Hopefully we get ourselves a very, very big crowd here tonight. So once again, man, salute to everybody. G Money is supposed to be my guest. I also left the link in the stream if you want to hop on and talk about these NBA topics from the first round series all the way now to the previews of the second round. And G Money should be coming just shortly. I already sent him the link. I left the link inside the chat. Salute to everybody. Before I get this out of the way, I also want to say, if you would like to donate to the channel, you are more than welcome to do that. Something you don't have to do, but it's something that I always recommend in case people are like, where can I donate? Where do I have to donate? Where can I donate? So appreciate you. Shout out to Anthony L. I see you. Ryan, Karam, Tara Matthews, I see you. How's it going? G Money's there as well. So salute to everybody. Like I said, hope we're going to get ourselves a nice crowd. And we got NBA playoffs coming up. So we got a doubleheader tomorrow on Sunday. It's supposed to be the Celtics against the Bucks at 1. And then at 3:30, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's supposed to be the Grizzlies and the Warriors. I could be wrong about that, but because I don't remember who plays at 3:30, but you know, we'll be looking at the second round matchups as soon as we get started in just a few. So for our second round matchups, we have, it's supposed to be Grizzlies and Warriors. We have Celtics and Bucks. We have Heat and Sixers. And then we have the Mavericks against the Phoenix Suns. G Money, let me know when you're backstage, and then definitely I can let you in. Because we got to talk about all of the matchups in the first round. So we're going to do a recap. I don't see you because you would have popped up. I don't see you, G Money. Is the link working? I don't know, was that bad? But I mean, even if he's looking for him, if he doesn't, the link is bad. All right, I'm gonna send another link in the chat. And then just let me copy the link, and then I'm gonna just put it in right here. All right, man. See if you can hop on in that one, G Money. Guys, hit the like as soon as you guys come in. Hit that like button, share the stream. We got 6 people watching. We got 6 likes. Let's continue to get the likes, and hopefully we can get some more people to come in watching this stream. We got this. All right, looks like we got our first one, man. Let me see.
What up?
TJ, shout out to you, man. What's up, man? Welcome to the live stream. How's everything?
It's pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. We definitely got to talk about this. We got to talk about some of these first round series that just happened. Let me see. I think G Money is finally in. See him right there. All right, so give me a second, guys. Make sure that there's no background noise when you guys are talking, just to make sure. Because definitely want to hear you guys' voices loud and clear. G Money, welcome to the stream, my friend. How is it going? Salute, my friend.
Doing fine.
All right, guys, let's get to the topic. Let's get to the topics at hand. You guys ready? Time to cook.
Oh, sorry. Echo.
No, it's all good. No worry. All right, no worries. All right. So first thing at hand, I wanted to get your guys' reaction to. We're going to start off with the first round series on the Heat and the Hawks. What was pretty much your reactions to Miami closing out the series in 5 against Atlanta? Anybody can start.
For me, predictable. We already knew what was going to happen before it happened. I mean, the Hawks, Miami doubled and triple team Trae Young virtually almost every possession. Were physical with him, preventing any drive, any long three he took. The only game the Hawks won was when they were down 16 in the third, 14 in the fourth quarter, and Trae had the crazy floater that bounced in. Miami was just deeper than Atlanta, had better shot, had better depth off the bench, had better ball movement, better coaching. It was just a series in which you kind of knew what was going to happen before it happened. It was kind of unwatchable, in my belief. For me, it was kind of unwatchable because it's like the Hawks just didn't have the firepower to beat the Heat. Trae Young had a horrible series. The dude had 30 turnovers, 22 buckets in the series. He was careless. And yes, you gotta give Miami defense credit. Also, Oladipo looked great in game 5. He looked awesome in game 5. Oladipo, his mid-range was falling, his 3-ball was falling, he was dancing to the rim. It's like you knew what to expect in that series, and that's what happened. The Hawks just weren't ready. To me, this is why I wanted a healthy Cavs team instead of the Hawks.
I see what you were saying, but I just, like I said, it's not that I didn't want the Cavs in the playoffs. I thought a fully healthy Cleveland Cavaliers team would have given them a good run for their money, but they were just so bad down the stretch that I felt like that maybe they might do some things, but I just felt like eventually Cleveland was going to eventually kind of lose momentum, and then they ended up getting blown up or quite possibly double digits. I mean, don't get me wrong, they compete really hard, but I just felt that I don't know. I just feel like it shows you the impact of Jared Allen, because once he got hurt, they just went in a crazy free fall because they did play better without Colin Sexton. They were one of the better defensive teams in the league. And the minute Allen went down, they were just never really the same team.
Nope. But once Atlanta got into the postseason, they had a chance, but it was not a reality they were going to win. They just didn't. The matches did not favor them. The Heat were just too quick, too fast, too deep. Jimmy Butler was awesome the whole series. Yeah.
Okay, TJ, your thoughts?
I thought it'd be a little bit closer. I mean, if you look at the two teams, compare them on paper, I mean, let's look at Tyler Hero. He didn't do much. Lowry didn't have, crazy games, right? It was all Jimmy Butler, right? So I feel like if they did a better job on Butler, it would have been a little closer, right? So Butler's hitting shots he usually doesn't hit, making three-pointers and stuff like that. I mean, if you look at the 76ers, Butler, he's definitely improved a lot, right, when he was on the Sixers. So definitely evolved his game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, you could even tell in the finals when he averaged 50, 40, 90. So yeah, TJ, you make a great point. It shows you that he's definitely evolved. And I think if you take away the injuries, I'm not saying that Jimmy Butler is going to be this amazing 25 to 27 point scorer or anything like that, but I think you will see a solid 22, 23, even possible 24, but gives you the good solid all-around game and plays defense, because I've always said this about Jimmy Butler. He's not leading your team to an NBA championship. So that's the one weakness of Miami. They really truly need a superstar, and they don't have one. It would be crazy if they were to, be able to win one without one, because we've seen some teams be able to do it in the past, but it's very rare, which tells you that for the most part, in just about every championship team, you have to have a superstar player. All right, so the Hawks are eliminated in 5. Let me ask you guys, though, for the Hawks, what do they need to do this offseason? Because like I said before, when it comes to Nate McMillan, and like I said, I have nothing personal against him or anything like that. This is just from what I see when it comes to him as the head coach. It's anytime he takes over a team, they do well for a half of the season. And then when it's a full season, they always seem to struggle in the first half, and then they always get it going in the second half. And I always feel like that McMillan is always a second half coach. And then when it comes to the playoffs, he doesn't really adjust in big moments. And I always feel like it's always the fourth quarter when it comes to Nate McMillan when games are close. So do you guys disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what does Atlanta need to do to get better in the offseason? Like, do they need to retool? Do they need anything? Do they need to change their coaches, in your opinion?
I would, if you're the Hawks, get a 6-man off the bench. Also, they need defensive wings. They don't have enough defensive wings. They need rim protectors, and if they need a center that can protect the rim to help out Capella. We don't know they'll keep Capella, because do you guys think a Rudy Gobert would help the Hawks though? Do you think they should trade Capella for Rudy Gobert if you're the Hawks, and maybe get a Bradley Beal if you can?
No, you need a center that can actually shoot like a mid-ranger.
That's a good point. A stretch big.
Yeah.
Yes, that would help. A stretch big would help, and also a 6-man off the bench. Lou Will could have been helpful in that series because he didn't play. He was hurt. He could have been helpful in that series, but they need a young 6-man that can create their own shot type of Trey, and they need another ball handler too. That's what the Hawks need: another ball handler and a 6-man that create their own shot that can penetrate to the T to the D. And Trey needs to work on his defense. I'm not saying he needs to be a great defender because that's not his game, but at least be more decent defensively, give some effort. And Nate McMillan, just want to add to your point, man. Did you know he's only won 2 playoffs? Did you know he's only been out the first round twice in 18 years of his head coaching career? Twice. 2000. That's horrible if you're Nate McMillan. 2005 with the Sonics when they beat the Kings, and then last year when the Hawks beat the Knicks and the Sixers. Come on, man. That's horrible, man. So that's what I think the Hawks need.
And it's true. You guys both made great points, because I've always said this about Nate McMillan. I think in a little bit of fairness to Nate McMillan, this Hawks team is a good team. They look like they are missing a couple of pieces. TJ makes a good point. I really feel like they do need a stretch big. G Money's right about they needing a 6-man off the bench. I feel like the Hawks could be a better defensive team. I think more consistently. Like, I need to see a more, 82 game type season type of defensive team, like where that you can hang on your hat on it, like close to just about every single night. But more importantly, when it comes to Nate McMillan, I can't get on him like too hard, because he's never really had the most talented teams when it comes to his career. But I do agree with you, G Money, in terms of the fact that you haven't really gotten out of the first round consistently in your 18 years of coaching. That's that's not a good look. I mean, he doesn't have Doc Rivers type of expectations, especially with the talent that he's coached. But at the same time, I still feel like, with how much praise that he kind of gets at times, I feel like Nate McMillan should be a little bit better, especially with the fact that he was a defensive player, right. And he made a second team All NBA defensive team. So he's not a slouch at all, which tells you he was a really good player. But it goes to show you that if you're a defensive first team, like, and it does kind of help that it needs personnel too. So, but so that's something they can work on. All right. So Heat and Hawks, we already know that that's a wash in 5 games. We already know about the Bucks and the Bulls, so I'm actually going to skip that, because we knew that was also a wash after what happened after game 2. We saw what happened the last 3 games of that series, so it was kind of like there's really not much to talk about there. The Denver Nuggets and the Golden State Warriors was very interesting. The reason being is because Golden State did win 5, but if you look at the last 3 games of that series, it could have gone nip and tuck.
Denver had opportunities to win all of them.
They did. So what are your guys' reaction to Golden State winning in 5 games and having the feeling that even without two key players on Denver, those games were right there for the taking for the Nuggets to have possibly have been up in the series with a chance to close it out at home.
The Nuggets were giving everything they could, like you said, Lou. They were using their size at times, their athleticism. Jokic was he started off a little bit slowly, but starting to come on strong, especially in Game 5 and in Game 4 and 5. We were starting to kill in the post and the stretch the floor. And even Aaron Gordon, after he was terrible the first few games, he's starting to kill it with bully ball. And even DeMarcus Cousins, man, he turned back the clock in Game 5 with his mid-range shooting, his long ball, posting up. Denver was right there. They just needed Jamal Murray, Michael Porter to create their own shot. They needed a six-man off the bench. They need a six-man off the bench that can create their own shot and a rim protector. That's what the Nuggets need if I were Denver. But the Nuggets were right there. They gave fits to the Warriors. It's just that just didn't have enough firepower. Mike Malone didn't make the proper adjustments, and the Nuggets fall to the end, but they just needed just a few more smarter execution. What killed them in Game 3 was turnovers, a bad shot by Will Barton when the Nuggets were down by 3, and in Game 5, the Nuggets were up by 8 going to the fourth, but they get burned in the fourth quarter. It was 78-70 Denver. They get burned in the fourth quarter. 30-20. The execution was just bad down stretch. And Steph Curry and Gary Payne hit some clutch time shots. Steph Curry was attacking the rag. Gary Payne hit some timely threes, a cut to the basket. The Nuggets give the Warriors all they can handle, but they just needed Murray, Porter, maybe a six-man off the bench at a rim protector. They would have had a chance to pull the upset.
You know, I thought Jordan Poole was an X factor in the early games just because he's knocking down 3-pointers, right? So if he turns into the third Splash Brother, I mean, they got to leave somebody open, right? You can't double team Curry and then Jordan Poole knocks down open three. So if you can play it the way he's playing, then they got a good chance to win, right?
True, but he did come down to earth the last 2 games, though. He was hot the first 3, but did come down to earth the last 2, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, my reaction pretty much in terms of that 5-game series was how competitive it was, how close it was. It was actually what playoff basketball is all about. Once again, TJ, you're right, because I always think that Jordan Poole is the X factor, because who would have thought that we were coming into the season thinking to ourselves, okay, Jordan Poole improved. Does he take a step back? And then we kept talking about, how will Wiggins perform? This year, we were thinking that he was going to be that third guy, but he hasn't really been consistent. But that is in large part due to the fact that Klay Thompson came back. But now that Jordan Poole is thriving with Curry coming off the bench, even though Curry just started last game, and Jordan Poole has kind of pretty much been doing it all year. When Jordan Poole is on, they're tough to beat. Oh, yeah. They're really tough to beat, because now you have to worry about. You can't worry about Curry so much, because now you got Jordan Poole as another player that can easily go off. The funny thing is like you think to yourself, oh yeah, he's feast or famine. But the funny thing is he's actually been consistent. There's been times where he's been inconsistent, of course, but I feel like he's been more consistent than inconsistent this year. So that's actually his consistency's actually been able to outweigh his inconsistencies. And now they got an absolute opportunity right now for the Golden State to actually make themselves a deep playoff run. Now, it's not going to be easy, and we're going to get into the second round matchups, as soon as we're done with these first ones, which I can't wait to talk about, but it's going to be really interesting. But you know what? Denver did everything that they could for a team that's not really known as a defensive team. For them to be as close as they were in some of these games, just shows if Jokic had at least a little bit more help, because Jokic was able to get one, despite the fact that they should have gotten more. But we also talk about Gary Payton's the second's defense. I think that's another thing that doesn't really get mentioned with the fact that was a key injury that was lost in during the season. I mean, he was part of the reason why the Warriors got also such a great start. And defensively, they were in the top 5 in a lot of categories. And I feel like once some of these injuries happened, and Klay Thompson coming back, and Curry obviously focusing on the 3-point record, he had his his most least efficient season probably of his career, maybe the lowest since probably his rookie season. And I think his rookie season numbers were actually pretty good in terms of at least shooting splits. But
And I noticed Andre Iguodala is just isn't the same defender he used to be. He used to remember.
He's not the same player as he was. I think he's been more injury prone this year.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that I don't really think that they brought him in for that, because I think the Warriors already knew that he was already older, and I think that now that's Gary Payton II's responsibility. I mean, Andre's really there for just leadership and mentorship at this point, because he's not really going to be getting a lot of minutes, even if he was to come on the floor. He might see some little burn of action, but I don't expect the Warriors to be giving him like heavy minutes, especially at his age now, to be trying to guard like these top wing players in the NBA, or the ones that they might be facing like in the playoffs, depending on what assignments they give. So that's really Gary Payton II's job, and you can see how much Gary Payton II is such a pest defensively. But my reaction is that they had opportunities to go either way, but at the bottom line is Warriors got it done and they move on to the second round. Shout out to Andrew the GOAT. He says, Kurt just said we're going to see Kuminga's minutes this series. That's another player. You see, this is crazy how deep the Warriors are, that we talk about some of these mainstays and we forget about guys like Kuminga, and we still, we don't know about James Wiseman, but, could he possibly play a factor? I mean, that's a lot.
I don't think Wiseman's coming back. Yeah. He's not
coming back. Memphis is a good 3-point shooting team as well. Desmond Bain. They got the
Bain, Zion
Melton.
Williams, D'Anthony Melton, Brandon Clark occasionally can hit one. Josh sometimes, Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. I don't want to go too far ahead because we want to get to the first round. We want to get to the first round series first. But just a quick appetizer. I'm telling you, man, Memphis is going to be hell for Golden State. I'm telling you.
Yeah. All right, so Golden State wins the series 4-1. Now I got to talk about this next series because I thought it was one of the most exciting. I honestly thought this series was going 7, but unfortunately it did not. And this was the game last night between the Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies. I thought it was an exciting 6-game series. I kind of wish it would have went 7, but I felt like that could have well, actually, in ways, I felt like it could have kind of helped Memphis because it would have kept them on their toes against Golden State, but they will get a little bit of a break before they play. But what are both of y'all reactions after Minnesota ended up closing out? I'm sorry, Memphis closing out Minnesota in Game 6 and winning the series 4-2. And then after that, we'll get to the Suns and Pelicans next, which was another, pretty good series itself. What do you guys think?
Minnesota has no brains. That team's dumb as a box of rocks. I mean, you got to give Memphis credit defensively, getting deflections, getting offensive rebounds, especially Brandon Clark. Tyus Jones hit big shots, especially that clutch three in Game 6. Desmond Bain was hotter than a furnace, was magnificent in that series, shot almost 50% from 3. John Moran, he didn't shoot great from the field, but I loved his decision-making, getting guys involved, getting offensive rebounds, attacking the rack. But the problem with Minnesota, man, they lack intelligence. They don't have good IQ. Cat, man. Oh, good goose, Sharif. 6 of 19. Really? 1 of 5 in the fourth quarter. He took a stupid 3 down by 4, and then before that, up by 1, he took a horrible mid-range shot. You gotta drive to the hole. Drive. Also, D'Angelo Russell. He was garbage in this series, man. 32% shooting. His decision-making was terrible. His mid-range looked bad. His floater was terrible. His 3, yes, he shot well from 3, but he had no impact at all on the series. And even though Anthony Edwards did have his moments in this series, to me, Edwards was more dominant in the first half of games compared to the second half of games. Example, last night, he had in Game 6, he had 20 points in the first half, but second he only had 10. Edwards is athletic. He can shoot the 3, but sometimes his shot selection can be bad sometimes. I remember it played the T-Wolves, were up by 2. TJ can come back when you're ready. The Grizz were down by 2, and then Edwards just jacked up a 3 ball. That was stupid. Like, you got to attack the basket there. Don't just shoot a dumb 3, man. Attack the rack, though. The Grizz, you have that shot block, but you got to penetrate to the T to the D. Don't just shoot a dumb 3. And Chris Finch, I didn't like his time management in the series, though. I remember in Game 3, the Grizz went on a 21-zip burst. You don't even call a timeout. That was just stupid and made no sense and idiotic though. But come on, and did you know this, man? Did you know that the T-Wolves are the first team in NBA playoff history to blow 3 games up by double digits going to the fourth quarter? Game 3, they were up 26. They were up 16 in the fourth quarter, got outscored 37-12. Game 5, up double digits in the fourth quarter, up 13 in the fourth of game 5, lost. Ja Morant had 18 big-time points, took their lunch money, and had a game-winning hoop, and also had a vicious slam and jam on Malik Beasley. Ooh, that's gonna sting in the morning. And also game 6, again, T-Wolves were up by 10 going to the fourth, got smoked 40-22, man. The T-Wolves lack brains, man. That team's not disciplined. The Grizzlies showed a lot of grit down the stretch, but the T-Wolves lack discipline, character. What the T-Wolves need, they need a rim protector, they need ball handlers, they need a shot blocker. They need 6 men. They need 6 men that can create their own shot, man. And I like Russell. You might gotta consider getting rid of D'Angelo Russell for a smarter point guard. Oh boy, the Wolves did overachieve, but this is terrible if you're a Wolves fan. To blow 3 games that you're up double digits in the fourth quarter because you like this. If you really think about it, the Wolves should have won at 5 or 6, but they just choked.
Well, the way that I see this series is this. Memphis is very fortunate to win this series the way they have because it looked like the Timberwolves to me were outplaying the Memphis Grizzlies with the way that I watched because, again, those two teams, the Wolves match up very well with Memphis. When you look at them on paper, they match up really well. But like you were mentioning, Anthony Edwards had better first halves and second halves. He's got to learn to play for 48 minutes. So he can't be putting up disappearing acts. So another issue that I have is that Karl Anthony Towns to me he's not to me showing what a leadership franchise player is supposed to be. Nice. You can't go out in a closeout game in an elimination game going 6 for 19 because you previously did it in another time when you guys entered in the playoffs with Jimmy Butler and these guys where you were really non-existent in that series against, I think it was the Houston Rockets who they played.
Houston Rockets 2018, yeah.
So that was his very first one. And obviously we know what happened with his mom with COVID, with some of his family members, and we get all that. But I think we're kind of past that to the point where it was like with the way this season went and you overachieved, people were starting to think, oh, hey, Karl Anthony Towns has got heart. Karl Anthony Towns is showing grit. Karl Anthony Towns looks like he's going to put the franchise on his back and be the franchise player that we know that he's supposed to be. But my problem is he played terrible against the Clippers, and you're lucky you didn't lose that game. And then in this series, it was you weren't consistent. And then on top of that, you come out and you shoot 6 for 19 in a closeout game
at home.
At home, which is why I'm thinking to myself, Karl Anthony Towns might not be. I don't think is a leader. I think that it's already kind of starting to show me with the fact that you played terrible against a Clippers team that did not have Paul George due to COVID, and also actually no he played.
No, Paul George played in that game. The Clippers were up by 10 in the fourth quarter and lost that game. Yeah.
No, he played. I forgot he didn't play against the Pelicans. That's what it was. But
Michelle does.
Shout out to Michelle's daughter, and she says, "Facts. I'm disappointed in Karl Anthony Towns, but." And it also shows that D'Angelo Russell, he is known to be a terrible when it comes to shot selection. He's just terrible. His shot selection is not great. I mean, he can excite you, get on fire, but his consistency has always been a question when it comes to D'Angelo Russell. Shot selection's always been an issue with him from the minute he got into the NBA. And let me just check the comment section. Michelle's daughter says, hey, G Money. Anthony L says he needs to move his feet better and learn to defend without fouling. That was another problem I have with Karl Anthony Towns. He got into early foul trouble and it took him out of his rhythm. And it's like if you could get Karl Anthony Towns out of his rhythm, he just mentally checks out. He's not even in the game. You feel like his body's there, but his mind isn't. And so Karl's going to have to look himself in the mirror, and he's going to have to be better next year because if not, then you're going to have to be looking like now, do the Timberwolves are they going to now have to build around Anthony Edwards because Anthony Edwards is the one that actually has a lot of upside, and he is, only 20 years old, and he looks like he could be the Timberwolves' like true franchise player. over Karl Anthony Towns. To me, that would be more disappointing considering what Karl Anthony Towns should be right now. You can't be putting up big numbers, but then, your playoff success doesn't match your regular season. So he's going to have to take the onus on this one. So,
Right.
yeah, he's going to have to show because that was just not – that was just kind of –
and also, before we leave the Wolves and Grizzlies, Chris Finch did a good job in the regular season. I hated his rotations in the playoffs and his time management. You see that your team is struggling. You got to know when to put in the right lineups. Give McDaniels more minutes, Vanderbilt more minutes, Beasley. Don't just rely on Cat, Beverly, Edwards too much, though. That's the thing. And Beverly was all talk in the series. But you came up, yes, he had his moments in the series, but in the fourth quarter, you came up small, man. And missed a lot of big shots. You did Pat Bev, especially that big three in game 6 when your team was down by 4 late.
Absolutely. All right. Shout out to Dean13. He says, I'm a Mavs fan. I think we can beat the Suns, and I don't think Booker's going to be healthy for the whole series. You don't screw with hamstrings. That's basketball, Mavs in 6. I want you to hold on to that, Dean, because we're going to talk about them and when we start talking about the second round matchups. All right. Next two teams. This was a thrilling series, probably another series that I felt should have went 7, but it was just unbelievable. The Phoenix Suns against the New Orleans Pelicans. And let me just say this right now. I want to give a shout out to the New Orleans Pelicans for the way that they played in this series. You saw Willie Green cry post-game. He gave a hug to Monty Williams. He was part of Monty Williams' coaching staff the previous year in 2021 when they went to the championship round against the Bucks. You could tell Willie Green really cares. Mm-hmm. You see the leadership. You really see the leadership, and you also see what I just loved about the Pelicans, probably more than any other playoff team in these playoffs. They competed from games 1 through 6. Oh, yeah. Now, game 1, they weren't that great, but from games 2 to 6, they competed their butts off. Fast. And you can make the case that they should have won game 6 to force it back.
And game 3 too.
Yeah, game 3 was that one really hurt. Because Phoenix ended up winning by double digits in that game, but they should have.
No, they only won by 3 in game 3.
Oh, because they were up by 4. What are they up by 14? And then they came back.
They were up. I think they were up like 13. I think in that game. Then the Pels stormed back and got the lead, and then Chris Paul just took over the game. And DeAndre Ayton, yeah. And McGee.
Oh, wait. It was the DeAndre Ayton he had that 28.17 rebound game. Okay,
yeah, he had a big game, and then Chris Paul took over in the fourth quarter of that same game, game 3. Yeah.
Okay, I remember now. Okay, but also. Can we just say that Brandon Ingram is now he's going to start to trending into a superstar? He's starting to trend. He's starting to trend there after this playoff series against the number 1 seed in the NBA. Jose Alvarado showing a lot of toughness guarding Chris Paul and just being an irritant on defense. Herb Jones and Trey Murphy were unbelievable. And Valanciunas also, I just love their effort as a basketball team. That's the kind of team that I would love to coach. See, this is the team that I envisioned when they were with Alvin Gentry. But again, I don't like Alvin Gentry. I just feel like he is one of these loosey-goosey head coaches that kind of get what he wants. I can't stand it. This is the team that New Orleans Pelicans fans can be proud of. Mm-hmm. If Zion, you're watching. Did you see how your teammates played out there? Mm-hmm. You need to commit yourself and getting yourself in better shape. Mm-hmm. And now you can see that. Now, I know that CJ McCollum did not play well in this series. He had his moments. Game 6, he was absolutely terrible. They could have won this game if he would have played better because the game was definitely very, very close. It was the way that fourth quarter went back and forth in game 6 was
riveting.
Really, really, really fun to watch. What's your reaction for Chris Paul? I know that Chris Paul did not have a great game in game 4. I think he only scored 4 points, but he was able to come back and play well the last 2 games, especially game 6. 33 points, didn't miss a single shot, 14 out of 14 from the field. And the Suns, in a very close game, were able to pull it out. And also shout out to Mikal Bridges. He had 31 points in game 5. What was your reaction to the Phoenix Suns closing out the series and moving on to the second round when it looked like the Pelicans might have forced a game 7?
My thing with the Suns is this, okay? I did pick the Suns to win the title before the playoffs, but my thing with the Suns is that they gotta learn to deal with adversity. Even though I'm happy they showed a lot of heart down the stretch, they just got to, one, stay healthy, and two, Chris Paul showed leadership in Game 6. He showed a lot of leadership. Because I guess he heard you, Lou says, "Oh, I choke in the playoffs, blah, blah." But I guess he used that as motivation, and his mid-range was falling. He played good defense. DeAndre Ayton was dominant at times in this series. I thought JaVale McGee did a good job with his rebounding and athleticism. I thought Cam Johnson hit some big shots too. And even though Devin Booker did not look great, he was great the first 2 games, and then he got hurt. And he did not look great in Game 6, but I thought the fourth quarter he came alive, hit that big 3 to get the Suns the lead for good. And Mikal Bridges, the big steal, the big Game 5 he had. Also, the Suns did a good job with the deflections and steals. My only thing the Suns need to work on is rebounding. They got to fix that later in the playoffs, and this guy just stay healthy. Monty made a good adjustments though, so I think that they're gonna have a tough road going to the finals. And if they do, hypothetically, I don't want to go too far ahead, Lou, but I'm saying that hypothetically, if they do get that far, they're gonna have a tough road winning a title. But if Chris Paul can continue to shine like he's been doing in this playoffs this year, and Booker can just get a little bit healthier, and DeAndre Ayton can just continue to be dominant like this, and maybe other guys can pitch in, they're going to be a tough out. Because I know, and again, I don't want to switch too much into the other series, but we're talking about Booker's hamstring. You got to worry about Luka's calf. You don't know what can happen with Luka's calf. It can pop too, so you got to consider that too. So those are things we have to think about that. So I'm saying that if the Suns stay healthy and they play the right way, I think they'll go deep.
Yeah, the key thing for the Phoenix Suns is always going to be health, because at full strength, they're really that good. The only thing that Phoenix cannot deal with is when teams go big and they slow the Suns, because again, the Suns want to. Chris Paul plays in the half court, but when he's not on the floor, Campaign is on the floor. They want to play in transition. They love to play up and down. We saw that last year when Chris Paul was out with the hand injury, and also with COVID protocol. They like to play fast, so they didn't really skip a beat. But like I said, my reaction to the Suns and the Pelicans was I'm glad Phoenix closed it out, because you could have been facing dangerous water going to Game 7. I'm just saying it as a Phoenix case. But the thing is, as a basketball fan, I felt robbed, because I would have loved to see how this young Pelicans team would have reacted for the first time being in a Game 7, when a lot of these guys have not been in a Game 7 before, with the exception of CJ McCollum, which we know he had been one when he was with the Blazers.
And Larry Nance. Larry Nance been to a Game 7 too. Larry Nance.
Oh, with the Cavaliers, that's right. That's a great point too. When he was with LeBron, that's a great point. LeBron's last year,
and Valanciunas with the Raptors too. Yeah, Valanciunas is with the Raptors. He went to a Game 7. It was against the Pacers in 2016, and against the.
Oh wait, no, wasn't it against the
Nets in 2014? He was on the Raptors in 2014. They played the Nets and won 7 games. Then he was on the Raptors for 2016. They played against the Pacers and the Heat and won 7 games. Yeah, Valanciunas. He's with DeRozan and Lowry. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking more so about the Heat, but I forgot about the Pacers too.
And also the Nets in 2014. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so my reaction is that I'm glad the Suns got it done, but as a basketball fan, like I said, I would have loved to see this go 7, because you would have had the first 7-game series of the playoffs. But I will say this about, once again, about the Pelicans. Phoenix did what they were supposed to do, and I'm just happy that we got to see. It's crazy, because you're looking at the Pelicans and you're like, they didn't deserve to be in here, because they finished 10 games under 500. This is not a play-in tournament. They benefited off the play-in tournament. But if you consider the way they started, they don't look like a play-in tournament team now with the way they play the Suns for 6 hard-fought games. They look like they look like an actual playoff team, which is why I'm excited to see what Zion is going to do when he gets healthy, and then he's integrated into this team. And then you look at the starting 5. They're actually looking pretty good. So that is true. Anthony L says Bridges has to stay consistent
I
as their
agree.
third option offensively. Sometimes Ayton is the third option depending on how the matchups are exploited, but they're going to need Bridges more in the next rounds. That's true.
I agree with
Karam
that.
said the Pelicans have started 3-16.
Yep, they started off horrible, and then they were 3-16. Then they went 33-30 to close things out to even get to the play, and then ultimately the playoffs. And like you said about Willie Green really cares. He brings toughness, character, makes the proper adjustments. He really wanted to knock his former team out of the postseason. I'm a Knicks fan. I do want the Suns to win it off because I like Chris Paul and the team. But it's like I'll at the same time, deep down, I was sad for Willie Green because it's like you fought your butt off, pushed the Suns to the nail, almost to the end, and preseason to end like that. The Pelicans fought. They have a bright future. Do not be surprised if they're a top 5 seed in the Western Conference next year if they can get healthy. Don't be surprised.
All right, shout out to Andrew the Go. He says, congratulations to I think he meant Mark Jackson on getting the head coach for the Kings. All right, so you heard it there. Breaking news. He is now. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna have to check the news. Let's see. Let's look up Mark Jackson real quick and let's see if he got it because he's saying it, so it looks like it might be true. Could be wrong, but let's see.
I don't think he got it yet. I'm checking right now. I don't think he got it yet. He's just a finalist.
So far, he's a finalist. That's all I see.
Sacramento could use Mark Jackson because they're a young team. They could use him.
He'll change the culture definitely for sure over there if he's able to get the head coaching job. I really think so. Defensively, they'll be better. Obviously, offensively, they're going to need an offensive coach in the system because Mark Jackson is not a good offensive head coach, and we've already seen that with Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
They'll definitely get better, but I wouldn't say championship.
At least they'll probably be in the playoffs with Mark Jackson if they get the right pieces around him.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need the personnel. That's for sure. At least he's a finalist candidate. I mean, it's going to be up to Mark if he's going to want to take the job if they really are pushing to get him. And let's see. But again, this idea about the beliefs, though, his religious beliefs, I think is going to be really the key, though. That's what's going to be more than anything. Andrew says, I really believe that James Wiseman is going to have a big breakout season next year. I mean, if he could definitely stay healthy, it's definitely possible.
Very possible.
Definitely possible. Yeah. So once again, congratulations to the Pelicans. It didn't start out as a successful season, but I think in my eyes, you guys definitely showed the future is definitely bright in the
it is.
And now we just need Zion to get healthy. And I think with the leadership of Willie Green and the great job and consider this, G Money, they have the Lakers pick in this draft. So that means that they could get even better. If not, they could probably trade it for a possible star player if it's possible. So, that's definitely, and this is why it hurts the Lakers giving up all that future. Yeah, they got a championship out of it, but now the sacrifice is now you don't really have a future right now, so they got a lot of decisions to make. All right, so Suns win 4-2. All right, now I want to talk about not really more so the Utah Jazz because I already know that they're a fraudulent team, but now it's really more so what was your reaction now after Dallas closed the series out and Luka got his – I feel like for me, I think people are kind of over-exaggerating with Luka Doncic. They're saying, oh, finally he won a first-round series. People are acting like he lost his 6 – he's like 0-6 in the first round. His first two opponents have been the same team, and that's the Clippers. His first playoff appearance was in the bubble. And then obviously last year, you can make the case that they should have beat the Clippers in that 7-game series. That he's only 0-2, but to say that he finally won one, that's kind of disingenuous and kind of disrespectful. He's only played 2 postseason series, only 2, and they've both been in the first round.
Right.
So people are trying to act like he's Tracy McGrady or something, and it's like Tracy never won. He was 0-7
until 2013, this last year.
Right, you're right. And at that point, he was just a role player. But my point is, it's great that Luka has gotten the opportunity to see what it's like to win a playoff series, so that's good.
Mhm.
But like I said before, I'm not sold on it just yet because now your true test is going to come against the Phoenix Suns coming up next. And
Mhm.
this is where I want to see if Jason Kidd has really changed. We're going to have to see about that. But
We're gonna find out. It's gonna be a long series. It's gonna
okay,
be a long series. I know that for sure. The
okay,
Mavs Jazz series.
yeah,
You gotta get the Mavs credit. They did a good job defensively, guarding the 3-point line. Utah shot under 30% from three, I think. Donovan Mitchell, who's usually shows up in the playoffs, didn't have a good series this time. They did a good job clogging the paint, soaring through the perimeter. And also, here's another thing Dallas did a good job. They did good job driving and kicking, finding the open man. Reggie Bullock hit clutch three. So did Finney Smith, Brunson. Dinwiddie didn't shoot well, but I thought he hit some timely shots, made the right decision. I thought the X factors, I should say, were Kleba to start the series, Brunson, and Vinny Smith. They were great. Their defense was phenomenal. I loved how they were diving for loose balls. I loved it with their flare screens, the cuts to the basket. And Jason Kidd finally made the proper adjustments not to burn out his guys. And Utah, man, it's like another year, another blown opportunity. This was their golden opportunity to go deep in the playoffs. I'm not saying they would have went to the Western Conference Finals. I'm not saying that, but you would have at least had an opportunity. Because think about it, right? Luka didn't play the first three games. And remember, Tim Hardaway is still out. Remember, Tim Hardaway's not playing. He's still hurt. And remember, if you were to play Phoenix, they'd still have a hobbled Devin Booker. You would have had a chance if you Utah to go deep in the playoffs, though. And you still choked. I don't get it, man. Like, they got to blow up that team, man. Like, Gobert's probably traded, man. Snyder's probably gone. I don't know, man. Mitchell is a good player, but he doesn't make his teammates better. The turnover by Mike Conley with the travel and Bogdanovich missing that open three. I want to ask you, Lou, when he took that open three, you thought it was going in Game 6? When he pumped it, you thought it was going in?
I mean, it looked good coming out of his hand. It's just so, and the thing was, he pumped. Okay, so he did the pump fake, and then he was able to set his feet to shoot. And I'm like, damn, Utah's going to Game 7, and then it just happened to miss, and then it was over. And just
Wow.
like that, the series was over. And let me say this about the Utah Jazz because
Anthony.
Mike Conley has been a huge disappointment, and his injury history tails all the way to Memphis. This guy makes a lot of money, and he's been unreliable ever since he came to Utah. And now it's to the point that they're stuck with him right now until they can find a trade partner. That's number one. Number two, I think Donovan Mitchell is not coming back to the Utah Jazz. He'll be on another team because it's clear that they can't win with this group. They have to blow it up. Rudy Gobert is I'm sorry. He's a defensive
defender. That's it.
he's not a good matchup against smaller players when they get to put him in mismatches because they know he does not have the quickness to stay with them and he has to be under the rim. I just think that Rudy is, in terms of a center in this league, Rudy to me is a 2010 center and not a 2022 center. That's how I look at it. And the thing is, if you put him in a spread pick and roll, if you get switches all the time, he's just not effective at all. So I'm sorry, they have to start over now. They have to blow it up. Quinn Snyder has to go because Quinn Snyder just does terrible job with his defensive lineups. Every time putting him with smaller players, I've seen him get burned by Steph Curry. I've seen him get burned by Chris Paul. Luka Doncic has burned him. It's like the same guards. You cannot do the same thing and expect different results. It just does not happen. Shout out to Ron at the building. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to hit the like as you guys come in. Let me look at the comment section real quick. But anyway, it's just to say at this point, I'm sorry, all these injuries, Mike Conley to me had the potential to be one of the most underrated great point guards of all time, but his injuries have really screwed him over, and he's just nothing but a liability. He's not available.
Nope.
And then when you need him in terms of big games, in terms of contributing to score,
Inconsistent.
it's just inconsistent. Just never really seemed to be there. Let's see. Karam says Jalen Brunson played off the floor in the playoffs last year. He also says I might be going to Game 3 on Friday. That would be
nice.
Anthony L says, thank you for bringing that up on the Tim Hardaway update. Karam says, you saying that for the Jazz, it's time to tear it all down and start over. Yeah, they have to.
Oh, please, they have to. Come on, this team has choked every year. I mean, 2020, you blow a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. 2021, you lose to the Clippers being up 2-0 without Ibaka and Kawhi, losing 4 in a row, including blowing a 25-point lead in Game 6. And then this playoff run, you blew a double-digit lead in Game 2 without Luka Doncic. You lose Game 3 at home without Luka Doncic. And then you blew a 12-point lead at halftime in Game 6, man. And he gets smacked around in Game 5, shooting 3 of 30 from 3. Yikes.
Also, I know this was early in Donovan Mitchell's career, but he also lost 4-1 to the Houston Rockets. So we also got to add that factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Even though they ended up upsetting the OKC Thunder that year with
Carmelo. That was 2018, my fault, yeah.
Right. All right, so let me look at the questions real quick. Again, shout out to Ron. Let me see. D. Wade wants Spider Mitchell to Miami. That's funny, and he's an owner of the Jazz saying that. Anyway, Michelle's daughter says, I'm back. All right, awesome. Anthony L says, how far away is a potential return for Tim Hardaway Jr. and his foot injury?
Hardaway hasn't been cleared to run yet, so he hasn't been cleared to run yet.
That sounds like a more so that might sound like an indefinite thing until he's probably clear. So I don't even know what's going on there, but I guess it's not probably going to happen yet. All right, so Dallas eliminates Utah, so they're out. Like I said, Utah's got to blow it up. All right, so it's time for a new year for them. They need to do a fire sale. That team is pretty much done. And like I said, I just felt like all the hype that they got, they just weren't really worth it. Okay, that's done. To the Eastern Conference. Let's see. We already know about Boston and Brooklyn. I mean, what much is there to say there? I pretty much cooked the Brooklyn Nets after that debacle. They couldn't even get one game against Boston. Obviously, we got to give Boston a lot of credit for what they did. But the only real series I want to talk about after this, although I'm just going to skip the Boston and the Nets because I already did my cooking over that. It's going to be the Sixers and the Raptors because there's something very important that happened in Game 6 before I even talk about what it is. First of all, we're going to give our thoughts on the Sixers nearly blowing a 3-0 lead in terms of almost when it was trending that way kind of in Game 6 for a bit. But number one, what was your reaction to the Raptors losing Game 6 to Philadelphia? That's number one. And then number two, and I'm going to mention it right now. So for those who didn't see the game at the very end, the Sixers were up by over 30 points, and Siakam went to the basket. Shout out to Raphael.
They were up by 29 at the time. It was 29.
So pretty much 29, 30 points, just around the same area. Right. And what happens is Siakam drives, ends up, according to Siakam, he accidentally hits Joel Embiid in the face and ends up breaking an orbital bone right below his right eye. And right now he is supposed to be out indefinitely. A lot of Sixer fans are mad at Pascal Siakam because they feel like he did that on purpose. Now, that's not what I think. I'm not really sure. So question G Money is, what are your thoughts on the game 6 between the Raptors and the Sixers? And then your reaction to Joel Embiid out indefinitely with that orbital bone and mild concussion he suffered at the hands of Siakam's elbow.
Right. One, I was in fact wrong in Game 6. Even though I picked Philly to win the series, I thought Toronto was going to play with much more effort in Game 6. Hey, I was wrong. The Raptors couldn't guard a parking car the whole game. Their interior defense was terrible. The perimeter defense was terrible. They couldn't buy an open three to save their life. Scotty Barnes had a good year, and he had a great season, but he jacked up too many threes in that game. Spicy P, Pascal Siakam, was not spicy in that Game 6 at all. Also, the Raptors just lack a bench, man. They don't have much of a bench. And also, man, losing Fred VanVleet hurt a little bit. They needed a playmaker. And the Sixers did a great job. James Harden, he looked good. He did not choke. The beard was cooking out there. Ball attacking the rack, putting his head down. His three ball looked wet. And Tyrese Maxey's jumper looked smooth. And also, Tobias Harris and Danny Green hit timely shots. And also, the Sixers did a great job being physical with the Raptors, preventing dribble penetration in the second half of that game. So, and they outscored the Raptors by 34 points in the second half because Philly was only up by 1 point at halftime. So, good win for them. And the situation with Joel Embiid, if you're Doc/Glenn Rivers, that's stupid. If you're Rivers, why are you playing Embiid when you're up by a gazillion points? That's idiotic, though. The game's over. The series is over. Let him rest and prepare for Miami. Now he's hurt, and who knows when he comes back? Because I'm telling you this right now, Lou, and I'll make this quick and simple. Without Joel Embiid, Miami's going to roll to the Eastern Conference Finals because Butler and Lowry are going to come back at some point. Without Joel Embiid, Miami ain't losing to Philadelphia because they're going to be physical with Harden and etc. So losing Joel Embiid, you lose a rim protector, a rebounder, and a stretch big. So if you Doc/Glenn Rivers, it's idiotic and it made no sense to play Embiid when you're up by 29 with 4 minutes to go. I mean, it was, come on, man.
Well, this is the way I'm going to see it. Some people were complaining and were saying, well, why are people complaining that Joel Embiid was in the game if Doc Rivers kept his starters? Because Nick Nurse kept his starters, so why they didn't really throw the white flag and all that kind of stuff. So I really can't even answer that because that was kind of a head scratcher too. I thought Nick Nurse was actually going to empty his bench. Some people were like, well, I felt like, they're like, well, I felt like if we would have took the starters out, the Raptors would have made a comeback. I said, they haven't really been scoring. They didn't really score the basketball like that after they were within 3 in the third quarter. Right when it was 70-67, the Raptors offense just came to a stop. It came to a halt. They couldn't score the basketball. And you're right, they did miss Fred VanVleet. People were saying, well, with Fred VanVleet gone, they were able to play a big lineup. The only problem with that was without him, they didn't have somebody who could break down their defense. And if you look at all the players on the Raptors, the Sixers defense made them play east-west. So they kept moving side to side, and they were not able to go north-south, which is what you want to do in order to attack the basket. And the thing is with Pascal Siakam is, like I said before, yeah, he looked good the last 2 games, but he went to predictable mild P with the fact that he's not a guy to rely on as your best player, which is what I've said before. He may have looked like the best player the last 2 games, which is why I find that embarrassing if you're Joel Embiid, because Pascal Siakam is not even a superstar, and he's an all-star, but he's not at the level that you are. So to get outplayed by him in 2 games, that's just not acceptable. That's number one. Number two, and we also got to talk about the brilliance of Tyrese Maxey, because he was the key in that entire run. So why the Sixers were able to extend their lead. So the only concern the Sixers have is that the thing is their starters are better than the Raptors starters, which is why they were able to get it done. Tobias Harris was also able to hit some shots in that third quarter that was able to extend the lead.
And Danny Green hit timely shots in the first half too. Don't forget about that. That's
right. Danny Green actually played very well in Game 6. So, and in terms of the reaction, I do agree that Doc should have kept Embiid out, and that might cost Doc another playoff series. Whether he's up or whether he's down, it's going to be another playoff exit, and it's going to be like since you coach the Boston Celtics, you haven't been able to get to the conference finals in either conference. That's just not going to be a good look. Going to be a good look for Doc Rivers, and I hate to say it for James Harden. And this is why James Harden is going to get exposed real bad, because no Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying to yourself, Philly was the place that you wanted to be.
Right.
That's a damn lie. And you know why? Because you thought that with Kyrie Irving there, you would have been able to win a championship with both KD and Kyrie. But because there was so much uncertainty with the Brooklyn Nets, you forced your way out, and they decided to take Ben Simmons instead. And now that Joel Embiid is gone, who is James Harden going to hide under? It's not going to be Doc Rivers, because when Doc Rivers wants to, he can throw you under the bus like he did Ben Simmons. Doc can do it. So if he does it, guess what? No, Harden didn't want to go to Philly, Karam. Trust me, he didn't want to go to Philly, and you're gonna find out.
Because of the whole vaccine situation with Kyrie. That's why.
He didn't want to go to Philly. See, the thing was is that Harden thought by leaving Brooklyn, it was more so of like, well, KD and Kyrie could kind of take that mess. So it's like you can't really blame me, but Harden's gonna get blamed this time because they're gonna blame Embiid because it's gonna be like he can't stay healthy. But I cannot blame him for that elbow. I really can't blame him for that elbow. For what happened with Siakam, that's on Doc Rivers for keeping him in the game. And then on top of that, against a team that's very physical. And let's face it, James Harden has ducked Miami twice this season. So you really honestly, James Harden ain't going to be ready for that physicality. Trust me. He's going to be complaining. And who knows if hopefully he doesn't even do this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he even tried. He ends up probably missing a game or two or something because he won't be able to deal with the physicality of the defense and might not even get calls from the referees. So
if that would have happened, Philly's getting destroyed in that game. If that would have happened.
Raphael, let me just say this right now. Harden is no superstar. The word superstar gets used too loosely with some of these NBA players. Harden is no superstar. He's an all-star, but not a superstar.
He's a superstar in the regular season sometimes, but in the playoffs, not so much.
No. And the thing is, if your game can't translate to the playoffs, you're not a superstar. So I'm sorry. James Harden is just an all-star to me. He's not a superstar. Because the thing is now, if Harden has consistently showed you time and time again that he is not able to play big in big playoff games, whether it's a closeout or an elimination game, you can't expect much. Before I continue, let me look into the comment section. Okay, Raphael said, okay, hold on, no, missed some comments. Anthony L says, it's making Kawhi look foolish for not staying in Toronto. All they were missing is a superstar closer. Kawhi cost himself more wins. I'm going to say this about Scotty Barnes. If you look at the way Pascal Siakam was playing in that third quarter, he was deferring a lot to Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes was injured. He could barely move out on the court. And I'm sorry, man. It's you were depending on a rookie to try to get you back into the game. And I thought that was unfair to Scotty Barnes. Because Siakam, you're the veteran. You should have done the job and lead this team at least some. I'm not saying lead them obviously to victory or anything like that, but
at least compete.
But you should have played a little bit better than that. And I'm sorry, he did not do that. He was deferring. He couldn't get anywhere on the court because the Sixers were limiting his drives, and he picks up his dribble way too much. Which is what I kept telling people is that Siakam does not have a crazy handle. He plays better when he's around a superstar. And like I said, when Kawhi Leonard was there, Siakam played much better. He was under control. He doesn't have to worry about doing so much. And that's why I said that he's not a number one. So let me look into the comment section. But I will say this about Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi Leonard is healthy next year, let's say the Clippers are fully healthy and they don't make a deep playoff run, I'm going to come back to that comment that Anthony L said, and you're going to be absolutely right. Because the Raptors have a really nice young team. They could use a little bit more shooting on their team, but at the same time, Kawhi's gonna look very foolish for leaving that team. But his opportunity is next year because of the fact that he got injured last year's playoffs and he didn't play all of this season. So his chances next year. Key thing is him and Paul George have got to be healthy. But the Clippers have a very good team that they can go far. But the key thing is going to be health. All right, Raphael says Karam, now Embiid may be injured for most of the second round, but that's his fault. Karam says that he got the Heat in 4 or 5. Anthony, not really. But if they can't even trust taking Embiid out of the game to maintain a 29-point lead, then they don't deserve to advance to the next round with or without Embiid. But that's because their team is not deep. And the fact that Daryl Morey is the general manager, I'm saying this right now. I really feel that, to me, the NBA, in a sense, kind of saved Doc Rivers from a first-round embarrassment of historic proportions because he'll lose in the second round. And hearing these reports that he might be the next Lakers head coach, to me, Doc has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And knowing Daryl Morey, I will not be surprised if James Harden comes out to the media and says, I know exactly what we need. And he comes out and gets Mike D'Antoni, so that it can help his numbers once again to try to remind people that he's this amazing superstar basketball player, trying to cloud the fact that he's been almost a horrible postseason performer. But Anthony else, oh wait, no. Raphael says it's no reason to be in the game up 29 with 4 minutes left in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Especially when you're up 3-2. It's true because the Raptors were not coming back. Their offense was awful from the third quarter.
And their defense too sucked.
It was just awful. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let me see. Ryan says, "How's life?" Okay. Shows daughter. Minnesota choked way worse than Utah.
You can make it. I say it's even. I say even.
You could kind of make a case, but I'm actually in agreement with G Money. I think that's kind of even just for the fact that Minnesota, they honestly could have won the series. They just were very boneheaded. They were just very
morons.
The thing with Utah is you already knew, you already know their history. So
yeah.
And I'm just saying the era of Gobert, Quinn Snyder, and Donovan Mitchell. I'm not talking about Stockton and Malone. That was a different story. You know why Harden wanted to go to Philly? Yep, Daryl Morey. That's right. Yep,
that is a good point, too. Daryl Morey. Yeah.
Yep.
Milwaukee, and also, Kyrie didn't want to take the vaccine. That's another part too.
Yeah. Milwaukee. Raphael says Milwaukee may be tough, but we will eliminate them in 6. And he's talking about the Boston Celtics. Anthony L says, I agree. He should have been taken out sooner. But my point is, if Doc is worried about not collapsing another big lead, then we shouldn't take them serious as a contender. I mean, did you see how much Doc flipped on the media before Game 6 when they asked him about the potential that he might choke another playoff series, this time being up by 3-0? Teams are 145. Well, at that point, before
140,
they were 444 entering that game before they went 145 by not blowing that 3-0 lead. But it was 144 entering that game.
I thought 146-0 now. I thought the teams are 146-0 now. I think went up 3-0 since Philly won. I think so.
All right, I'll have to look that up. Shout out to FMY Rico. He says, have y'all discussed Phoenix and Dallas? We haven't discussed it yet, but we will in the bit. Shout out to FMY Rico. Again, guys, make sure to hit the like and hit that subscribe. Who has a relationship with Daryl Morey while we're talking about James Harden? Anthony L says, Harden cares too much about partying and hanging with rappers. He never showed that mentality in the past. What makes us think that he's going to have to step now, especially without Embiid? Oh, yep. He'll be in the club sometime in the series. You'll probably see. It would be a good series, but I got the Suns winning in 5, but I can see Luka getting 2 games. Ron says without Embiid, Philly is pretty much done. They have to hope James Harden goes back to the Houston version, and he has not been good this season. In the best of times, he's always came up short in the playoffs. Raphael says Harden is considered a superstar. If anyone needs to step up this second round, it's him. He can party after the season's over. But like I said before, Harden is no superstar.
It's not even just that. They also need other guys. Like Danny Green has to be consistent. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Lou. I'm very sorry. Danny Green has to be consistent. Tyrese Maxey show up. George Niang has to hit threes. Matisse Thybulle has to hit shots too. Yes, Harden has to step up, but other guys have to pitch in too.
Miami's actually more deeper than them. The Sixers don't have the 6 man that they have in Tyler Hero. So
and they have Oladipo too.
That's right. And at some point, like you mentioned, G Money, Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler are going to be back in that series. It's going to be curtains for the Sixers, especially if James Harden won't be able to take advantage, like the fact that they're not there. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Okay, so the way I see it, when it comes to the Raptors, they are another team that overachieved. Nobody saw this team being in the playoffs. Nick Nurse did a great job once again. It's just showing you that he's able to make work with what he's got, and that's the mark of a great coach. So I'm just saying right now that I think that the Raptors do have a very bright future with their core. They definitely they need a superstar. It's very clear that they need a superstar to go get a basket. And like I said, they could use a couple of more shooters, but this team defensively, they were flat out awful in Game 6. They didn't show the effort that they did in Games 4 and 5. We know that they should have won Game 3. They blew that game. You could be could have possibly had a chance to close out the Sixers after they were being up 2-0. But
Yeah, they were up 17 in that game. Toronto was up 17 in that game, game 3. And Achura had 2 free throws that would have won him the game. And also Anunoby missed a free throw in overtime too. And Spicy P and Fred VanVleet, who were great in the regular season, didn't play well in game 3.
I don't know who most people are, but I don't consider Harden a superstar at all. I've seen his career enough to see that he's not at all. He's a perennial all-star, but that's all he is. He's not a superstar. Not a superstar in my book. Especially if your game can't translate to the postseason, you're not a superstar.
There's a lot of guys who stink in the playoffs in this generation.
He also says that Lewis Embiid was throwing elbows earlier in the series. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was. But the bottom line is that Doc made a mistake keeping him in the game, and now he lost his best player. And now James Harden has nobody to hide from.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if they lose, Harden is going to get the blunt of the blame, which is, I know that's not what he wants. He doesn't want that. He was hoping that Joel Embiid would be there so that Embiid could take the blame. And the thing is also, it's like people are like, well, man, Embiid, it's like he finds a way to get injured at the wrong time. And it's been happening since, 2017-18? I know it happened before that, but what I'm saying is since he's been in the playoffs every single year, there's always an issue.
Knee injury, 2019. I mean,
he had the stomach injury.
Stomach injury. I think he had meniscus injury last year against the Hawks. Man, this dude can't stay healthy, man. This dude's a walking hospital bed, man.
Yep. And that's exactly what it is. All right. So yeah, the Raptors were not really able to do anything like after their defense, after the defense of the Sixers stopped. But the thing is, I'm not really that impressed with the Sixers. They did what they were supposed to do. You were the favorites.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have been down 17 to the Raptors in game 3. You're lucky that you didn't lose that game. And with the fact that the Raptors were hanging at with you nip and tuck, I honestly thought the funny thing is I actually picked the Raptors to win this game because I thought that the big lineup was going to still give them problems without VanVleet. Because when they were losing the games, VanVleet was actually more of a liability, and that's really more so due to defensively, not him as an offensive player, more so him defensively. But
yeah,
so the Sixers get it done, and they win the series 3-2. So I know James Harden was out there dancing and yelling, and listen, man, you're gonna get exposed round 2.
And to be fair with Harden, and I agree, Harden might get struggle in the next round, but I'm gonna be fair with Harden. He did play well game 6, so I'll give him fair. He did play well in game 6, though.
I'm not going to do it. As much as I want to, I don't want to do it because I have to see a consistency string. I want to see how well he plays without his best player. Are you going to show what you've always shown, and that's you're not a leader, or are you actually going to step up and have a next man up mentality to rub off on the rest of these guys? Because remember, you guys are not deep. The Sixer team is not a deep team. So you're really going to have to really galvanize the troops up until possibly if Embiid is able to get back. And so right now he's out indefinitely. He has a mild concussion. He has to wait till the swelling goes down in his eye. And usually with those kind of orbital bone injuries, that could take up to 3 weeks to heal. So if that's the case, they're done.
And Miami might even have a freeway to the NBA Finals potentially with Chris Middleton being hurt too.
Yeah, it's possible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are done with the first round. And now, as you can see in the back of my thumbnail, we are now at the nitty-gritty now, what we've came here for. So we are going to talk about the second round matchups. And the first matchup we are going to start with is tomorrow's game 1 between the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, we know Chris Middleton is out with that MCL injury, and the game starts, I believe, in Boston at 1 o'clock.
Boston at 1 o'clock on ABC. Yeah.
On ABC. So before I ask you the question, Ryan says, who's more injury prone, AD or Embiid? Both of them, honestly. That's the honest truth. Both of them. Raphael says, honestly, we only have 4 superstars: Steph, Kawhi, LeBron, Giannis. Durant is arguably because he did leave OKC to a Western Conference Finals and to the NBA Finals back-to-back years. Okay, so G-Money, Bucks, Celtics, Jason Tatum against Giannis Antetokounmpo, the two best players on each team. Who wins this series? Why do they win this series? Who's your X factor in this series?
Whew. Man, you put me Johnny on the spot. It's gonna be a 7-game series. I think it's going 7 games. And the fact Game 7's in TD Garden, and I don't know if Chris Middleton's gonna be healthy. Give me those green leprechauns from Boston. The Boston Celtics are going to dethrone the Milwaukee Bucks from the NBA title. I got the Celtics in 7 games over the Bucks. Here's why. The Boston Celtics are one of the best teams at guarding the perimeter. Yes, I know Milwaukee right now in the playoffs is shooting 38% from 3. But here's the thing. Boston is one of the best teams at swarming through the perimeter. And they love being physical in the paint. Giannis will have his numbers because he's very strong in the paint. But if they clog the paint with Giannis, he's not going to consistently hit that jump shot, though. Is Jrue Holiday going to be consistent enough to exploit mismatches? I don't know. And the Bucks can be turnover prone. Even though they smashed the Bulls, the first 2 games, they could have easily lost the first 2 games against the Bulls because they were careless in game 1 and took some bad threes. And losing Chris Middleton, I know he's streaky, but Chris Middleton's a guy that you can say, hey, he can turn the game over and get guys, and he can penetrate. And he's a good defender himself. Grayson Allen. I know Grayson Allen was red hot versus the Bulls. I don't know if he's going to keep that up against the Celtics. I don't see it, man. I just don't, though. Bobby Portis, who have his moments, but I don't know if he's going to keep this up, man. I do think this is going 7 games because Milwaukee's good at rebounding the ball with Lopez, Giannis, Ibaka. But losing Chris Middleton and Milwaukee be streaky offensively is going to hurt. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown has shown me leadership so far in this playoff run. Show me a lot of leadership so far. I didn't think they'll beat the Brooklyn Nets, and they proved me wrong. So for that, and Udoka has done a great job. Did you know the Celtics are 34-12 since we hit 2022? 34-12. Man, the Celtics are one of the best defensive teams, and they've worked on their offense. I love their cutting to the ball. There's flare screens. They do a good job with the cuts, the ball movement, the driving kick. I love their corner threes. Grant Williams, Payne Pritchard are going to be the key. My X factors for the Celtics is Pritchard and Williams. They're going to be the key for the Celtics off the bench. My X factor is the bench for the Celtics. Can they outplay the Bucks bench? That's the thing. I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I got to go with the Celtics in 7 games over the Bucks, man.
Well, that was a good point. Let's see. Well, honestly, I don't care who wins the series. The thing is, this is the way I'm going to see it. Well, actually, no. If I say it that way, I'm going to have to save that for the Suns and the Mavericks. So I'm going to just put it that way. Who wins between the Celtics and the Bucks, and why? If Chris Middleton is healthy, give me the Bucks in 7 games.
If he's healthy,
if Chris Middleton is not healthy, give me the Celtics in 6. And the Celtics have been playing unbelievable defensively. I have to see what kind of adjustments Coach Bud is going to be able to make dealing with that type of defense that the Boston Celtics are playing right now. So he has a huge challenge on his hands, does Bud. And I don't trust him as a head coach. Like I said, what saved his bacon was last year, because I felt that there were times where I felt like he was just gone. And he should have been against Brooklyn, but that didn't happen. But if Chris Middleton does not play this series, this Boston Celtics will beat them in 6, because now what they can do is they can focus on Giannis Antetokounmpo, or they can let Giannis get his and let everybody and shut everybody else down. Depends on what the Boston Celtics are going to do. Can Jrue Holiday make enough shots to complement Giannis Antetokounmpo that with Chris Middleton is not there? That's going to be the question. Can these role players, can Bobby Portis step up? Can Grayson Allen step up? Um, Obviously, Pat Connaughton and then Brook Lopez also with his defense, with his new and improved defense. Will he be able to step up and be able to stretch the floor to give Giannis the driving angles to drive to the rim? Because the Celtics are going to play some zone to take away Giannis's drives. So can the Milwaukee shoot the ball well enough? Because the Celtics are going to, with the way that they're guarding Giannis, they are going to give the Milwaukee Bucks open looks. Milwaukee's a good 3-point shooting team. So that's kind of a bad thing, but it's going to be up. But this is different. They're playing against the number one defense in basketball. Can they make enough shots to really make the defense honest so that when they extend their defense, Giannis can have more drives to the basket? So that's going to be key. My X factors, Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen, because I know what I'm going to get out of Bobby Portis in terms of his energy, his hustle, his ability to rebound. He can probably stretch the floor and hit some shots, but again, he's doing it more so off of role playing. It's going to be Holiday and it's going to be Grayson Allen. I think is going to be the keys in this series for the Milwaukee Bucks. For the Boston Celtics, can Jason Tatum take it to the next level? Can he go another level? Because people are praising that first round and how he played against Kevin Durant, but it's like you're going from now Kevin Durant to Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's the reigning Finals MVP. He's the reigning NBA champion with this defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. Can he take it another level and outplay Giannis Antetokounmpo in a 7-game series? We're gonna have to really wait and see.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna have to wait and see. And then with Boston, it's going to be again Robert Williams defending the paint with Giannis. If Giannis happens to drive and he'd be there. Is Robert Williams fully healthy? Hopefully he is. Don't know that for sure yet because he wasn't playing a lot of minutes. Obviously Peyton Pritchard, and then obviously Grant Williams coming off the bench. Those guys were huge in the Brooklyn Nets series just this last round. Can they repeat this performance against Milwaukee? We're gonna have to wait and see. And I honestly think the fourth quarters of this series to me is probably going to be the most interesting.
It's the money quarter, the clutch quarter.
Yep, the fourth quarter. That to me is going to be key. But if Jason Tatum can bring it up another notch and he gets the same, and the leadership is still there from Al Horford and from the rest of that coaching staff, and Ime Udoka can make the proper adjustments defensively to Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Boston Celtics will beat them in 6 games. But that is a very, very, very spicy series. And it has the potential to be one of the best ones of all time. We will find out tomorrow at TD Garden at 1. But the atmosphere will be crazy, though, for that game.
Oh, but you think, before you continue, you think they'll close it out? If Middleton isn't there, you think they'll close it out at the Deer District?
You said if Middleton is not there?
They're not there. You think Boston's going to close it out at the Deer District in Milwaukee in Game 6?
Well, listen, Boston's got to look at it this way. We were able to close the Brooklyn Nets on the road back-to-back games, which means you can win on the road. They're very capable of doing it, but it's going to be it's going to be up to Boston. They showed you they could do it to a Brooklyn Nets team. Now they have to do it against a better.
And Milwaukee is streaky at home this year, yeah.
They were streaky. That was because they were not playing well at the start of the year. Some of it had to do with injuries, and obviously, you know what championship hangovers do to a team coming off a title.
Right.
Let's look at the comments section before we continue. But like I said, fully healthy, Bucks in 7. If you're the Boston, if not, Boston in 6. That's the way I'm going to pick it. Drew Holiday is going to be the key, and that's exactly what I said because I feel like again, can he hit enough shots to give Giannis the driving lanes he needs? Because Boston's going to sag off, and they're going to have Giannis beat him from the outside. Which Giannis, he has to get a rhythm in going inside the paint. So we'll see.
And also another thing to add to your point, I think Boston's going to foul Giannis. If I were Boston, I would foul Giannis. I know Giannis is improved as a free throw shooter, but I'll test it out. Don't let Giannis go full speed ahead. Foul him and see if he can hit the free throws. And also, dare him to shoot outside shots because Giannis has not shot well from the perimeter really much of the season. So that's what I would do if I were the Celtics. Pack the paint.
All right, let me look at the comment section. Let me see. Here we go. Anthony L says, well coached, but Bud can't be nearly half as bad as Steve Nash. No, he's not as bad as Steve Nash.
On this side, I agree with that. I agree.
G Money, Maxey has been consistent. As for Danny Green, he's been consistent since he was in San Antonio.
Maxey was consistent to start, then kind of came down to earth, and they had a good game 6.
Well, we can't say the same about Danny Green because what happened during the bubble, especially if you look at the finals, not only did he shoot the ball great, the problem was that he was getting blamed for that Game 5 loss. And when he missed that three-pointer in Game 5, he wanted to get the ball back, and they didn't give him the ball back. And people were ripping him apart on Twitter and social media, and even to the point that Laker fans, I don't know who these Laker fans were.
Death threats. Like, seriously?
To me, death threats to his fiance. To me, those were LeBron fanboys because they even went as far as saying that Laker fans, quote unquote, were making a petition as if to say Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green do not deserve to win NBA championships.
Disrespectful.
So I'm like, the fact that I have to hear that you're petitioning so that these guys don't get a ring. I said that just shows that there's no real Laker fan says that about that.
It's disrespectful when their opinions are wrong, bro.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. They actually helped you win a title, like, please. Let's see. Let me look at the comment section. Here we go. Karama's got Celtics in 7. Karama doesn't even think Middleton's playing this series. Anthony L says, Giannis's passing has improved. He's getting other guys good looks. He's finding Bobby Portis and Allen whenever they send the wall. He gets the ball out of his hands a lot quicker. See, that was the difference in them winning in 2021. Giannis was not holding the ball. Every time he had an opportunity, he got rid of the ball very quick, which made it hard for the defense to kind of collapse and react to Giannis. It would be too late. That's because he's making his decisions a lot quicker, and it helps. Yeah. Karam says Drew Holiday is going to be the key. I agree with that. Brian says, not only that, we play team ball. Everyone touches the ball, and we've been consistent. Also, we play great defense. That's another thing that I got to give the Celtics a lot of credit for, that they've grown. Their assists have actually gone up because they've played more team basketball. That's true. Anthony L says they only mentioned the points and the rebounds with Giannis, but low key his passing has gotten better. Yes. And we already know about Giannis's defense. It's among the best in the NBA, which shows you his defensive win shares, defensive box plus minus. He's impactful. Mm-hmm. Raphael says, I was telling my cousin that at work, if Drew steps up, then it'll be even tougher to stop the Bucks. But other than that, it will be a good series. Anthony L says, if Milwaukee steals one game on the road, Miami will have to contend over home. I think he meant
Milwaukee.
I think he meant Boston will have to contend with home court. The pressure to me is more on Boston. I'm not ready to sip the Kool-Aid of Boston just yet. Oh no,
that's a good point too.
I definitely agree with you. I'm not ready to jump on the ball. I'm not ready to jump on the Boston bandwagon yet because all you did in the first round was to beat a Nets team. And despite the fact that I did not give any excuses to the Brooklyn Nets, this team was doomed from the start. Because I got to mention that Kyrie Irving didn't take the vaccine. Even in the games that Kevin Durant played, he ended up missing 27 due to injury. James Harden wanted out and bolted so that they could trade for Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons didn't even play a single game when he got traded. He hasn't played a game since all of last year in the playoffs in Game 7. So the fact that they had all of this coming, they had to construct and bring in Andre Drummond, the second coming, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Drummond, Seth Curry. There was no Joe Harris for the entire year. Now, I don't trust Joe Harris in the playoffs. So let's make that clear. We saw that what happened last year.
Really against Milwaukee. He played well against Boston, Joe Harris, but he was terrible against Milwaukee. Really around Game 3 on, yeah.
Yeah. And he never found the shot after that. And then So, like I said before, like I honestly think that with Boston, I don't think it's time to sip the Kool-Aid just yet, which is why I asked, can Tatum take it to the next level? I, to
Good
me,
point.
feel like with the way that they're playing, I don't see why Boston can make a run at the title. I don't see why they can't come out of the Eastern Conference. They give themselves that kind of opportunity.
They have a
That's
chance.
how good that they've become.
They have
And
a
I can't
chance.
even
I just
forget it.
think that they have a chance. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Lou. I just think Miami. I don't want to go too far ahead, but assuming they get past the series, I think Miami's gonna give Boston hell, man.
Yeah, if they get past them, that's true. But like I said, it's going to depend on the health of Chris Middleton, which is why I'm not making a definitive pick. I said a fully healthy Bucks in 7.
I
If
agree.
not, the Celtics are going to win in 6 games, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
there's that. But that's going to be a really nice series, and I can't wait till it starts tomorrow. Let me continue in the comment section. Let me see. Oh, Raphael says, Anthony, we are winning one of the home games. If the Bucks do win it all, it'll be a close game. Oh
I
no, if they
agree with
do
that.
win, it'll be a close one. Anthony L says Milwaukee wasn't even playing well when Chris Middleton was healthy. Their
I agree
offense
with
has
that.
actually gotten slightly more explosive without him. Defensively, he will be missed though. Yes.
It's also against the Bulls. It's also against the Bulls. They're gonna need Chris Middleton in this series. You also understand that the Bulls were terrible defensively. I mean, yes, I understand they moved the ball without Middleton, but without Middleton, you lose a go-to guy, though. Yes, I know they were scoring a lot of points without Middleton, but again, the Bulls were terrible defensively. Without Middleton, they're not going to score in the series against the Celtics.
It's going to be much tougher for them. All right. Let me see. Anthony L says Boston, not Miami. Milwaukee, I was typing too fast. Raphael says Giannis will have his stats, but him dribbling the ball 20 of the 24 seconds and then kicking it out to shooters in the quarter isn't going to beat us. But to counter your point, Giannis has been getting rid of the ball quicker. So it's not always going to be 20 to 24 seconds that he's doing. If the Celtics defense forces him into doing that, it's going to be a long series for Milwaukee if they can force him to do that. And I shouldn't even say long. I mean, this series will end sooner than later. So it's important that Giannis emphasizes ball movement without Chris Middleton until he gets back. Let me see. Quran says death threats against shaking my head. These fans are toxic. Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, we know that. Ralph says Drew brings playmaking and defense every game. As for scoring, he's not consistent. Grayson Allen maybe is the X factor for the Bucks. Bingo. That's what I also said. Grayson Allen is key.
Mm-hmm.
He is key, along with Drew Holiday. Both of those guards are
And
going to be
Pat Connaughton, too. Pat Connaughton, too.
That's another player. Doesn't get mentioned. Shout out to Nets post game said.
And they're going to need George Hill, too, because they might need George Hill for the Bucks to take ball handling duties to help out Drew Holiday, George Hill. Because remember, he's been out, too.
That's another good point. Let me see. Ralph says he thinks that Grayson Allen is going to be the X factor. Interesting. Nets post game show says, "What team you have to win it all?" Not going to get
early.
to that.
It's too early.
I'm going to hold on to that. We'll get to that. As a Boston fan, I think the Warriors are going to win the championship. I hope the Bucks win it all so it can help my GOAT Giannis's agenda. I don't know, my guy. It's a long ways away from the finals. We haven't had the second round yet. The Bucks are not going to beat the Warriors. I think this series is going to come down to coaching and who can make the right adjustments in game and game to game. Yes, they can. Well, like I said, we'll see. Fully healthy, Bucks in 7. Not healthy, Celtics in 6. That's what I got. Okay. That Bucks Celtics series should be interesting. Like I said, I want to see if Tatum can take it even up another notch.
And Brown, too.
Yep, and Jaylen Brown. That's correct. So, all right, let's get to this series. The Memphis Grizzlies against the Golden State Warriors. To be honest, it's the matchup that I think a lot of fans or most fans have been waiting for. This is the one game that I've been this one series is the one I've been actually really looking forward to. Ja Morant against Steph Curry. Who wins this series? Why do they win this series? And who's the X factor?
All right. I don't care. Right. It's going to be an electrifying series. I know many people are on the Warriors bandwagon. I know many people like, hang on. I know many people like Raphael think the Warriors are going to win the championship, and they have a chance. But I am sorry, homie. I ain't picking them. I think those Grizzly Bears from Memphis are going to use their bear claws and scratch and claw the Warriors in 7. Bold prediction, give me the Grizzlies in 7 grueling games over the Warriors. Here's why. Let me break it down for y'all. Jaren Jackson, I don't think he's going to be in that much foul trouble against the Warriors because other than maybe Draymond, they don't have many physical players like that. Though they don't have many physical players like that. And Jaren Jackson, I think, is going to have a better series because he can clog the paint. And yes, I understand they struggle with the Timberwolves, but here's the difference, though. The Timberwolves are quick and athletic, though. That's the difference, though. It's matchups, though. And yes, I understand Ja Morant struggled in the first round, but remember, Golden State has no rim protection. Ja, to me, is going to have a better series against Golden State without any real rim protection. And remember, Memphis is one of the deepest teams off the bench. Desmond Bane can stretch the floor. Zaire Williams, he's athletic and can shoot. You have, what else do you also have? You also have Tyus Jones. He can shoot and defend and can get deflections and steals. You also have Steven Adams when he comes back. He can rebound, defend the interior. Also, don't sleep on Brandon Clark. He can get you offensive rebounds, protect the rim, and he can stretch it for himself. And here's nothing into why I'm picking the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis can force turnovers on Golden State. They're quick to the ball and get into deflections and steals, though. And to get into transition. Expect Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to get into foul trouble. Expect that. And here's another thing, too. I have a feeling Klay Thompson might struggle in this series because historically, Klay Thompson struggles with great defensive teams. I seen Klay Thompson when he was healthy get outplayed by J.R. Smith. Remember that, Lou? I seen that before. Also, Steph Curry is great. I know Steph Curry can shoot. He can get to the rack. I understand that. But if you're physical with Steph and you swarm the perimeter on him and you stay attached to him, he can struggle. And he's very loosey-goosey with the ball. I understand Jordan Poole's going off to start the playoffs, but he came down to earth the last 2 games, though. In fact, he didn't play in the fourth quarter much against Denver. And another thing why I'm picking the Memphis Grizzlies is because they're not scared of this team. They protect the rim. They protect the perimeter. Also, you also have to consider this too, okay? Steph Curry is injury prone. Klay Thompson is injury prone. It's not a guarantee they're going to stay healthy in the series. Draymond Green might get into foul trouble in this series, though. And Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark can stretch Draymond out from the perimeter, though. I know many people may disagree, and I don't give a darn. But my X factors for this series is Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson, and also Tyus Jones. I think Ja Morant's going to have a good series. I know he looked bad against Minnesota, but that's one series. He is more than capable of exploding the next series. You just never know what can happen. And also, Steph Curry has fragile ankles. Don't be surprised if he gets hurt in this series with Klay Thompson. Don't be surprised if Jordan Poole struggles in this series. I'm telling you, man, y'all picking Golden State to just squeak by. I'm telling you, man, y'all sleeping on Golden State. I'm sleeping on Memphis, man. And also, Memphis is hard to win at Memphis at FedEx Forum. Again, the reason why the team was pushing the way they did is because the Wolves were quick and athletic, though. And the Wolves were one of the best three-point shooting teams in the NBA. That's why they push it so deep. And also, by the way, next post-game show, Steph Curry missed 18 games this season. Just want to throw it out there, though, because of an ankle injury. Klay missed 50 games. So don't tell me they can't get hurt. I'm telling you, man. Desmond Bain can shoot the three. Jaren Jackson can stretch the floor. Tyus Jones can stretch the floor. Don't be surprised. Even Zaire Williams. Don't be surprised, man. Even last year, did anyone predict the Atlanta Hawks to go to the Eastern Conference Finals? You never know what can happen in this series. Who knows what can happen? Memphis can clog the paint. Think about it. Jaren Jackson leads the NBA playoffs in block shots, though. And Memphis leads the league in fourth quarter scoring in the playoffs. You can't ignore that. People like talk about Golden State being injured, but what about Memphis? Ja missed 1 game in the regular season. Brooks missed 2 games. Clark missed 2 games. Memphis wasn't healthy against Golden State either. And also, Memphis is a team that can fight through screens too. I'm sorry, man. I got the Grizzlies in 7 games, man. Bold prediction. Grizzlies
like
7 over the Warriors. Guaranteed.
Oh, man. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I'm doing it now. I'm doing it now, man.
All right. Let's go to the comment section. Anytime a guarantee happens, we know what happens. All right. Let me go to the comment section before I give my thoughts on the Memphis Grizzlies Golden State Warriors series. Let me see. Let's go to the comment section because there was a lot of comments. No, Warriors win the championship, win it also.
Disagree, man.
I think. Okay, coaching. I read that. Okay, Raphael says if Ja can beat Curry again in the playoffs, then the Grizzlies will be in the finals. Ned says that this effing series is probably going to be the best between the Warriors. Shout out to Doug Banks. Salute.
Oh, Doug Banks.
Doug Banks, if you want to get on in here. I'll put the link on there, Doug, if you want to come in. Guys, make sure to hit that like, man.
I'm going to add another nugget for you. Don't be surprised if Steph and Clay get tired. Don't be surprised. They might get tired in the series because Memphis likes to run a lot. Don't be surprised.
That's a fair point. The media was pushing for the Suns and Golden State, but we want to see Grizzlies against Golden State. Well, Ryan, you got to kind of confuse because remember, the Suns are the first seed. So if Memphis faces Golden State right now, and let's say the Suns get by the Dallas Mavericks, you're still going to get Suns versus Warriors, but you're going to get it in the Western Conference Finals. And I said this before the season started. Adam Silver, if you're listening to me, we want to see Warriors against Suns in the Western Conference Finals.
Me, I don't care. I would not mind Grizzlies Suns. I would not mind that.
No, I said that. But look, I like Memphis, and like I said, if Memphis makes it, it still makes compelling TV. Like it'd be great. Let's see. Karama's got the Warriors in 6. Net says I have Warriors in 6 or 7. Let me see. G Money, don't deride Memphis like that. Well,
I'm not deriding Memphis. In fact, I don't think they'll make the finals. And again, I don't want to go too far ahead because it's the second round. But if you want me to, I guess I think they lose to the Suns in the conference final. I don't think they'll make the finals. I don't think the Grizzlies are ready yet. That's just me. I think they're 2 or 3 years away. I don't think Memphis is going to the finals. I mean, you guys are deriding the Warriors for being an injured Nuggets team, and they were struggling the last 3 games. Yeah, they won 5 games, but it wasn't like it was easy. They were going to the nail against 3, 4, and 5 against an injured Nuggets team without Murray and Michael Porter. And you guys are picking them to win the championship. I think you guys are wrong, man. Hey, we'll find out, but I'm telling you, man, y'all going to see what I'm talking about come mid-May. I'm telling you. Don't sleep on those Grizzlies Bears. I'm telling you, man. Whoop that trick, man. I'm telling you, man. I got Grizzlies 7 on the Warriors, man. Do not be surprised if Steph or Clay get hurt. Don't be surprised. Right. Remember, Memphis is physical. Don't be surprised.
Anthony L says, okay, Karam says he likes Golden State. Anthony L says Golden State is finally healthy with their big 3. This is not the regular season. I like John Morant, but they could barely beat Minnesota. I got the Warriors in 6. Let me just keep reading the comments before I give my thoughts.
I didn't say the Warriors are bust. I never said that. I never said the Warriors are bust. I'm saying that I don't think they'll beat the Grizzlies in the series. Again, if the Warriors beat the Grizzlies, I'll come in here and say I was wrong. They're a great team. I just don't think they'll get past Memphis. If they were playing the T-Wolves, I'm confident the Warriors would beat the T-Wolves. If they were playing the T-Wolves, I would have said Warriors in 5 or 6. against the T-Wolves. But if they're playing against the Grizzlies, it's not because of the regular season. I just think that Memphis athleticism and quickness and defensive rebounding, because remember, Golden State's not good on the boards, and also Memphis has a deep bench too. Those are just not understanding. And remember, Memphis can clog the paint. And guard the perimeter. Those are just things you're not understanding.
Okay. Green will make it tough for Giannis.
I didn't have to speak in that atmosphere, but I chose to anyway. So,
let me see. Green will make it tough for Giannis. Also, the Warriors with that depth 3-guard lineup is consistent enough to give the win. Oh, but Ralph, you're thinking way too ahead though. Like you got Warriors and Bucks in the finals. That's like too ahead. We're just focusing on the second round.
Thank you.
Ja Morant struggles and got carried in some games against the Timberwolves. Ryan says, here's the difference. Ja has to show out in this series while Steph doesn't need to be.
Steph has to show out. I disagree. Steph has to show out too. I disagree with that.
That's kind of tough. I don't think he can afford to do that. The Memphis Grizzlies are a tough team. Warriors won't do that. Ja has to perform his best. Ryan says turnovers are going to be a constant. Well, I agree with you there. The turnovers are going to be fine for both of these teams. Nets postgame show Ja averaged 18 on 46% against the T-Wolves. That's correct. Josh has had some of his best games against Golden State. I think he's going to have a great series. I'm going to say this right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Golden State is going to be able to stop him at all. That's my prediction. Ryan says if the Warriors can limit their turnovers, the Warriors have a great chance of winning. Nets postgame show says we'll see game 1 tomorrow. It'll be a long, hard-fought series, but something Ja Morant holds the Grizzlies at. Anthony L says, I want to see how they utilize Peyton defensively against Ja Morant. I think that's what's going to be the matchup in terms of who they put on. They might even put Clay on him too as well.
But Clay's not the same defensively. You had to use Gary Payton if you're Stephen.
I would go more Peyton or even Andrew Wiggins on him. But like I said, we'll see what happens. Let me see. Oh, Anthony L says, I want to see how they utilize Peyton defensively against Morant. They have different bodies they could throw at him. They're going to have to get Baines more involved. He's the silent killer. Yeah, this is the series that Desmond Bain can really show out, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Dylan Brooks. Don't sleep on him. Who knows? He might get hot. You never know. He might have a big fourth quarter in the series. Who knows?
There's some things that Ja holds the Grizzlies back. There's not a lot of ISO ball, much which costs us some of the games in the regular season. I see GP2 going to have an assignment. We all have our opinions. Miami will be very tough to face. Please stop G-Money. This is in 2016. Anthony L says, outside of Morant, Desmond Baines is the only real consistent threat offensively I'm worried about, especially from the three-point line. Desmond Bain is underrated. I agree with that. I think he's definitely underrated, but he's going to have to definitely show out to take that next step, I think, in terms of complimenting Ja. Nets postgame show says G-Money about the J.R. Smith outplaying Klay Thompson. That was in 2016 was well.
And 2017 a little bit too, and a little bit of 2017 too, a little bit. And also 2017 at time too. You can check.
Give me a second, Doug Banks. I'm going to let you in just a second, man. So no doubt. Let me see. G-Money is being Chuck 2.0. Oh, yeah. Oh, with the guarantee. Karam, you're older than Bain? Karam says, yeah, I think so. Anthony says Jaren Jackson's rotating and recovery on the help it can be a little slow. Yeah, that's the one thing
that's my problem too, yeah.
He's nice, but Curry is going to blow right past him. Curry's been driving to the basket much quicker off the pick and roll. Nets postgame says, I actually just realized Memphis has got home court advantage. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, they'll start their first 2 games. So he says, G-Money, you actually have a point. Shout out to Anthony Manzano. He says, I have a Heat sweeping Philly. I have Boston winning in 7. I have Golden State winning in 7. And I have Phoenix winning in 6. Raphael says the Warriors are going to win because of experience. Nets postgame coach says so did the Grizzlies. I don't know to have the chip, but I do know who will probably might be the winner. So G-Money. So what you're saying is the Warriors are bust.
I never said that.
They only beat injured playoff teams.
I never said that.
Of this Grizz vid, Warrior series of the winner, G-Money, you don't got to speak that into the atmosphere.
I didn't have to, but I chose to. So
we don't want to see any of these guys get hurt.
And another thing, instead of using the word have, use the word need, man. Instead of using the word have, use the word need, man. Haves and needs are 2 different things, man. Use the word need.
Ned says I have Memphis winning game 1 tomorrow.
Same here.
Okay. Anthony Manzano says, I think strategizing in the regular season is completely different from strategizing in the playoffs. And I think Steve Kerr is a great strategist in the playoffs. That's his first point. Second point is, do you think
We'll
the young
find out,
coach,
Raphael. We'll find out, man. Once I'm sorry for interrupting you, Lou. Once John Moran and the Grizzlies have their bear claws on Golden State, I don't want to hear any excuses, man. I don't want to hear any excuses, man.
all right, do you think the young coach for Memphis can help strategize a guy like Steve Kerr in the
Taylor
playoffs
Jenkins.
with Kerr's coaching experience with Taylor Jenkins? I think you're trying to ask, can he outcoach Steve Kerr? Depends on what he does. So it's going to depend on how he does.
I think he can in this series. I mean, again, Steve Kerr is a good coach. I'm not denying Steve Kerr is a good coach. But if Ty Lue can outcoach Steve Kerr, I mean, at the time, 2016, if Ty Lue can outcoach Steve Kerr and Nick Nurse, again, I know the Warriors had injuries in 2019. I understand that. But Nick Nurse, as a rookie head coach, still outcoached Steve Kerr, in my opinion. Why can't Taylor Jenkins? We just have to find out. You don't know what can happen this year's series, man. And Ryan made a great point. To help you read a comment, this reminds me of 2015 series. This reminds me of 2015.
If that's the case, Golden State wins in 6. I think it's going to be a flashback of 2015 when the Grizz Golden State. Nets post-game show says, I say Memphis wins game 1. Or I think it probably might say that in terms of the switch where Memphis wins in 6. I say Memphis wins game 1. The Warriors will win game 2. The Warriors win game 3. Memphis wins game 4. Then game 5. Warriors win game 6. And Warriors with the championship DNA win game 7 and a hard-fought win.
I agree within the first 6 games, but in Memphis in game 7, I don't see it, man. I agree within the first 6 games. I can see his point. But game 7 in Memphis, give me the Grizzlies.
Okay. Now let me give my thoughts on this series after reading all those comments after missing. Okay, here's the way that I see the series going. So, yes, that's a great point that you mentioned that the Memphis Grizzlies are going to have home court advantage because the Warriors are the 3rd seed and Memphis is the 2 seed. And then also, if you go back to the other series in the Eastern Conference, Boston will have home court, not Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's going to start out on the road for those 2 games. Okay, so now getting back to this Warrior series. Anthony L. brings a great point. I'm concerned of how Jaren Jackson is going to be guarding Steph Curry when he gets one-on-one coverage. That is going to be something that's going to be very telltale. The defensive rebounding does concern me for Golden State because Memphis is one of the better rebounding teams in all of basketball. I think they're 3rd overall in rebounding. So Golden State is going to have to they're going to have to play their best defensive effort and really do a good job of defensive rebounding. Also, Memphis is a really good offensive rebounding team too. So they're going to have to keep them off the glass, period, on both sides of the ball. My concern with the Grizzlies is John Morant and how he goes ISO at times. Also, can John Morant hit enough outside shots if the Warriors prevent Ja from going to the basket? Because where I see Ja flourishing going to the basket is in transition or if he goes up against a player that is not going to be able to keep him in front. That's the only way I see Ja doing that. And the thing is Ja going to show the IQ to make the extra pass to guys open to be able to hit their shots? Because like Anthony L. said, other than Desmond Bane, who is really another threat that can possibly really go off consistently? Desmond Bane is really the only guy that can do that. Dylan Brooks, he can be streaky, and he has not been healthy. He's a very good defender, but my thing is, who else other than John Morant? Because the thing is, this is a series where it's going to be who's going to be the second and third guys for Memphis. That's kind of the question that I'm going to have with Memphis in terms of that. Who's going to give them that consistency? And the Warriors, again, they've been there, done that with their core. Now, it's a little bit different for the young players because this is now round 2. You know the stakes are a little bit much more higher. You're going up against a higher seed, and now you're not at home. You're starting on the road. So I wonder how Steve Kerr and Draymond and Steph and Clay are talking to these young guys about how to play on the road in the start of a playoff series when you don't have home court advantage. So even that's going to be interesting. But then on top of that, here's the thing. this is where, to me, when I look at this series, where experience is actually going to play a factor. I didn't think so at first, but I feel like this is really going to be the series where experience is going to play a factor. Because it's easy to say, well, Memphis struggled against Minnesota. Minnesota matched up really well with them. That's what happened. That's why they struggled a lot. The thing is also, Ja was making a lot of mistakes, and that was a series where inexperience, despite the fact that inexperience did not matter, Ja was making a lot of mistakes in that series.
True.
And he didn't really play his best. Now,
True.
against Golden State are going to have their issues because Memphis is an athletic team, and Golden State does struggle against athletic teams. But they got some athletes of their own. We can't excuse Gary Payton II. He's a very good athletic player. We can't excuse Andrew Wiggins. Now, again, it's going to really depend on him to really step up because he's the second coming of Harrison Barnes on this team right now. And if he shows any sign of inconsistency, that can be bad. So that's one thing. We kind of saw the Clay of old a little bit in the Denver Nuggets series. Are we going to see that Clay against the Memphis Grizzlies? My only fear with the Warriors is the athleticism of Memphis giving them a lot of problems to where Memphis gets them so much in the open court, Golden State's going to have a tough time staying with them. So if you're Golden State, you want to force the Memphis Grizzlies to play a half-court game. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, the best chance that they have. And on your end, do not turn the ball over because both teams are turnover-prone, but more so the Warriors in your case because you're not as athletic as Memphis is. Do not turn that ball over because if you do, Memphis will get out and they will run you out of the gym, whether you're in Golden State or whether you're in Memphis. But I think the Warriors have enough experience and enough coaching, despite the fact that, again, Steve Kerr, to me, is a bit overrated when it comes to his coaching decisions because he's had the benefit of having the players that he's had. But give me the experience in this series, and I got the Warriors winning in a tough 7-game series where they have the ability to win on the road. And I think that this is a bit different from Memphis in terms of expectations because you have the opportunity to go to your first Western Conference Finals in 9 seasons. So we're going to have to see. But I have the Warriors winning in 7 games.
And also to add to your point, you made some good points for the Grizzlies role players. Same thing with the Warriors. Is Jordan Poole going to be consistent? Klay Thompson? We don't know. Klay can be up and down sometimes. So it can Poole. He can be up and down. Gary Payne. So we have to find out. They can be inconsistent too.
That's a very good point. And that's why I said Memphis is going to have to be really careful because when you start to look deeper into their bench, Otto Porter Jr., Andre B, you got Bjelica in terms of being able to space the floor. Are they going to be able to hit the shots? True. And the thing is, what you have to worry about with Golden State, which you're right about, we don't know if Jordan Poole is going to be streaking that series. Mm-hmm. We have to worry about Klay Thompson because he's starting to show that he can explode for one of those big games. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that Memphis does not really have on their team with other than Ja Morant. If they can get that from one of their players like a Jaren Jackson or maybe a Desmond Bane, because the thing is you're really looking at Desmond Bane to see if he could give you that consistently. With Klay Thompson and with this Warriors team, that's always not necessarily the case because anybody could possibly go off. You look at Steph, you look at Jordan Poole, you look at Klay Thompson. That's already 3 people right then and there. So as much as Memphis has an opportunity to win this series, this is the part of the reason why I'm sticking with the Warriors because they have 3 possible players that can go off for any time. And all they really need, to me, honestly, is possibly 2, not even unnecessarily 3. But what I will say is this, the Warriors have to really be careful, though, because, again, Denver's not as athletic as Memphis. And Memphis will fly when it comes to defense. So we will see if Golden State will find a way to counter their athleticism on the defensive end. And then the same thing on the offensive end. But again, the key for the Warriors, you have to make this a half-court game. You have to make this a half-court game because Memphis likes to play up and down.
And
that's the best chance to win.
And to add to your point, yes, I agree with you with the big 3 of the Warriors, but so can the Grizzlies. Ja can have a monster game. You never know. Dylan Brooks can have a monster game. Brandon Clark can have a monster game. Jaren Jackson can have a monster game. Who knows? Zaire Williams can have a monster game. Tyus Jones can hit big shots. These playoffs have been so unpredictable. Don't you never know what can happen. Any of these guys can have monster games off the Grizzlies. I see your point, man. You made some great points. We'll just have to find out and tune in, and time will tell. But who knows what can happen in this series? And the guys from the Grizzlies can go off too.
All right, let me look at the comment section, guys. Make sure to hit that like button. Okay. Damn.
You meant 2018, Ness. You meant 2018.
Okay. Raphael says, G Money, who's going to turn over the. Oh, no. I already read that. Ryan says, I think it's going to. Oh, no, I read that too. Let me see. Okay. Anthony L says, G Money, are you willing to put your money where your mouth is on the Memphis hype you got going right now? He's going to do it. He already said he's going to.
Grizzlies 7. If I'm wrong and the Warriors beat the Grizzlies, I will come to the stream. You guys were right. The Warriors beat the Grizzlies. The Warriors were mentally tougher. But if the Grizz win, I don't want to hear Curry was injured. I don't want to hear Clay was in protocol. I don't want to hear none. No excuses.
Okay.
But that's not going to.
Yo. Doug Banks. Yo.
What's going on? Look.
My bad, man. Sorry for leaving you there too long. I had to make them points. But I know you had to cook on this because I know you're a Warriors fan, Curry's fan. So what's your opinion on the Grizzlies against the Warriors in this really nice second-round matchup? Who do you have winning? Who's your X factor in this series to win?
I think it's going to come down, like you said, it's going to come down to experience. I think Golden State obviously has the most experience here in this situation. John Morant, Grizzlies, they're coming. They're on the rise, but they need more time to get to that level. Like Gideon said, I think they're a couple of years away. So for that reason, I actually got the Warriors winning in 6. I think they're going to steal a game. I think they're going to steal a game on the road, and I think they're going to win both of them at home. I think the Warriors actually get up like 3-1, and then the Grizzlies win that game at home to force a game 6, and then it's a spirited game 6, and I think the Warriors close out there. But it's not gonna be easy 6 games. It's gonna be a hard fight back and forth 6 games. The key for the Warriors is gonna be, like you said, not turning the ball over. They gotta take fouls too. One of the things that got them in Game 5 against the Nuggets was they fouled too much. And so it disrupted their rhythm. They weren't able to really get nothing going offensively. Thankfully, Stephen Curry got going and closed out. So they need to cut the turnover. Yeah, eliminate turnovers as low as you can. I know they're a high, they're a high, paid. They're a fast-paced team. So turnovers are going to happen, but just limit them as much as you can. Like no mentally unforced errors. Like throwing the ball out of bounds and stuff like that. Eliminate those as much as you can. Lower the fouls, and I think the X factor. Well, there might be a couple. I think you mentioned one of the GP2 defensively on Morant. I think will be an interesting matchup. But I also think Wiggins is going to have. I do think Wiggins is going to have to step up and not necessarily play hero ball, but just do when he's open for shots, knock those shots down. Play solid defense, make be aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes he'll get a little passive and sell for shots, but he needs to be a little aggressive. So those are the keys for Golden State. And then the boards, which the Grizzlies are a better rebounding team, but sometimes the Warriors can get rebounds just off the sheer fact that they're just giving effort in that department. So. If they can, make sure they box out, be aggressive getting after loose balls. Sometimes you can win some of those battles too, if the effort's there. So that's what I got for Golden State. As for the Grizzlies, the key for the Grizzlies is I do think John Morant needs to play some of his best basketball. He can't play like he did against the Timberwolves and beat Golden State. That's not going to happen. So he's got to be a little bit smarter. I would like to see him. I don't mind his aggressiveness, but kind of mix it up. Kind of get to the mid range a little bit. Use that jump shot a little bit more, and kind of he's gonna have to kind of rely on his teammates too a little bit too. Get the ball moving and stuff like that. Because if guys like Bain and Jackson are knocking down shots, that'll open up the lane for him, and he can, and that'll help him offensively too. And so, obviously, Grizzlies, if they can turn up the heat, force turnovers, win the rebound battle, and knock down a perimeter shot. The Grizzlies aren't a great 3-point shooting team, but they got guys that can knock down shots. So if they can knock down those 3-point shots at an efficient rate, they can't be bad from the perimeter. They're not going to be Golden State, because Golden State can get going. Anyone can get hot. So they got to at least be effective from there. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if the Grizzlies win this series, it'll be in 7. I think the Grizzlies will win in 7. So that's how I see it going.
All right, man. No, thanks, man. You were making some,
made some good points. And I'm sorry for interrupting. Both teams could win in each other's home floor. Golden State can win in Memphis. Memphis could win at the Chase Center too. Don't forget.
No. Yeah. What I was just gonna say is that I feel like when it comes to this series, with Memphis and Golden State. One thing that just kind of popped into my mind, I really think that what's going to really come down to, because I got to go into the comment section, because Ralph has said he was going to say Valanciunas, but Valanciunas is with the Pelicans. He's not with the Grizzlies anymore. He was with them, but he's not there anymore. And also Memphis is the team that has home court, not Golden State. But Nets post-game show makes a great question. If this was a game 7, who would you trust more? Would you trust Memphis or would you trust Golden State? And my money's going to be on Golden State for some of the reasons that those Banks were saying. And like I said before, this is to me the series where experience is going to play a factor, because, like I said, Draymond Green is actually looking healthy. This is probably the best he's probably looked in probably a while. And now you have that vocal leadership that you were missing. You have that defensive anchor that you probably didn't have for most of the year. So he was your interior defensive anchor. Gary Payton was your perimeter defensive anchor. You have both of those at the same time. And so that's, to me, is going to be a big difference. The Warriors may not be a big team, but what you have to also understand is they can go small just like Memphis can. So that's one thing that they can match up right there. And we don't even know if Memphis's big lineup, let's say Forsay, might necessarily work. It can, but we would have to wait and see. And I just wanted to say that, listen, as much as Memphis, they were in the top 5 in steals and blocks this season. So they were number 1 in 4. They led the league in forced turnovers. So Golden State cannot turn that ball over. They were 3rd overall in steals, and I think that they were 4th or 5th in blocks. So they can really shot block in the paint. But looking into the comment section real quick, let me see. Oh, that says, is anyone really in awe of how talented the league really is? Because when I think about it, I'm like, damn, these guys are scary good. Yeah, I mean, if you look at these playoffs, you're looking at Brandon Ingram, you're looking at Anthony Edwards, you're looking at John Morant. I mean, you're looking at Tyrese Maxey. I mean, these young guys, man, have really come out. They've really competed really hard, and they're really, they're making a name for themselves on the national stage, which is what you want, because, again, Adam Silver has to look at it this way. These young players, you market them the right way, it's going to make your league look great for years to come. I mean, and that's why it's so great that we're not focusing on one player constantly promoting himself about, the playoffs are not good without me, this and that. And when you look at the playoff ratings, they've been the best in 10 years in the first round. 10 years.
It's the best postseason I've seen in a long time. Yeah.
Other than for like some series, other series have been unpredictable. And we may have a lot of 6 or 7 game series because there's other teams on the rise. The Suns went through hell against the Pelicans. The Bucks had trouble the first 2 games against the Bulls. Even though the Heat did beat the Hawks in 5, the Hawks give the Heat some trouble here and there, and the T-Wolves give the Grizzlies some trouble. Even the Nuggets give the Warriors some trouble because of their length and their size. Even a lot of great series here and there, man. NBA's in good hands, man. If I were the NBA, can you stop shoving the Knicks, Lakers down our throats, please? Can you stop, please? Like,
Or keep LeBron's on, please.
And I'm a Knicks fan. Stop shoving the team down our throats, man. Like, give other teams a chance, man.
Well, you have to understand something, G Money. As much as we may not like it in terms of like they keep shoving the teams like the Knicks and the Lakers down our throat, you have to understand something. Both the Knicks and the Lakers are the two biggest markets in all of sports. So California and New York, the NBA thrives. The NBA thrives the most when these two teams are doing very well. The Lakers haven't done well this year. Neither have the Knicks. But when they both do well, it's good for the NBA. So as much as we can, I hear what you're saying. You know, you're right. But the basic point is the NBA is always a business first. New York and LA do well at the same time. It creates a ton of revenue for the NBA. It's always been like that. Big market teams is what makes the cash in the league. It's always been like that.
Mavs, right? Even the Mavs on the rise. And speaking of the Mavericks, we're going to talk about some of the Mavs and Suns, and they get the Suns some trouble a little bit, I can say.
All right, so we're going to move on to the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. This is a very intriguing series, and I'm actually going to start this off because this is something that I thought about that might lead me to think that the Phoenix Suns actually might even lose to the Dallas Mavericks. I still got the Suns winning this series, but I just had a little theory and I had a hunch. Who was the Finals MVP last year? Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Adam Silver has a thing for international players, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got Luka Doncic and we have Giannis Antetokounmpo in the second round. So is it possible that it sounds crazy because nobody had Dallas as a finals team. But like I said, Adam Silver has a thing for international players. And I know he's pushing Luka to kind of be one of those next ones along with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Would this be a surprise to say, ladies and gentlemen out there, that the NBA Finals could even possibly feature the Dallas Mavericks of all teams? It's possible. I never thought it was, but like
some of a dark horse. I can see that.
Hey, it could be. The deep.
And I said because of the fact that Adam Silver is moving more globally, I would not be surprised if we had a Dallas Mavericks Milwaukee Bucks NBA Finals. But with that being said, when I look at this series, I think the Suns are deep. Obviously, Mikal Bridges is going to have to be more consistent. So does DeAndre Ayton, because now with Devin Booker hurting with his hamstring, we got to question how consistent is he going to be in this second round. Even though Devin Booker says I feel great and all that, he might take a dip offensively and he might even be a liability defensively. I don't know how well he's going to move. And G Money had mentioned it earlier in the stream. What else? That Tim Hardaway hasn't played yet. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, I don't know if he's going to come back for this series, but if you're the Suns, you let Luka do his thing and keep everybody else off. Make Luka the isolation player that he's been. You do that, then this is going to be a quick series. If Luka starts to trust his teammates like he did against the Utah Jazz, this series might go longer than probably even the Phoenix Suns would probably thought. So it's not going to be easy. Dallas is a good defensive team. Dallas can shoot the three ball real well. And if Luka is if his injuries don't hamper him at all, because his calf is going to be another thing.
It could pop. Hopefully, he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and this is to me the series, and I know what Jalen Brunson is going to do. This is Spencer Dinwiddie's time to really show he can do more, because I really feel that he's going to be the X factor for the Dallas Mavericks if they're going to advance to the Western Conference Finals. My X factor is Spencer Dinwiddie. He didn't do much first round against the Jazz. He's going to have to do more against the Phoenix Suns if they're going to have a chance to win. So my prediction, I think the Suns are a little too much in terms of their depth. I got Phoenix winning in 6 games against the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Same here. I got Suns in 6. It's gonna be a challenge. The Mavs will give the Suns some trouble because, like you said, 3-point shooting defense. But here's the thing: why I think the Suns will beat the Mavericks. The Mavs don't have anyone to stop the interior. That's the thing. I know Aiden can be soft sometimes. I understand that. But Aiden is capable of giving you 20 and 10 on a good day. They have no one to stop Chris Paul on ball. And Devin Booker, I know Devin Booker is hobbled. I understand that. But you never know. Maybe Devin Booker has a good game here and there. Maybe he might get off a few games here and there. Maybe Cam Johnson gets off from the perimeter. And maybe Mikal Bridges. Look, they're not going to stop Luka. They're not going to stop him. But don't be surprised if Luka slows. Don't be surprised if Luka slows down the fourth quarter because he can get tired sometimes. And here's the thing: is Reggie Bullock going to be consistent in this series, though? Because he can tend to go up and down sometimes. Same thing with Vinny Smith sometimes. So that's the thing with me. And also, is Jason Kidd going to make the proper adjustments over Monty Williams? I just don't see it. And that's going to be a problem, though. And I trust the Suns more in the clutch than the Mavs. The Mavs have done well in the clutch in a way, but like what Anthony L says, and like what Lou says, we got to see Spencer Dinwiddie's going to be consistent. He was up and down versus Utah. I don't know if he's going to be consistent in this series. I just think the Suns are deeper than the Mavs. Give me Suns in 6 against the Mavs.
Let me say this real quick before I let Doug Banks speak his thoughts. There's something that I just thought about that I had to consider, and I hope that Monty Williams does not make this mistake, and that's putting bigs on Luka Doncic at all in this series to where he's forced to go small. And if he does that, that can play right into the hands of the Dallas Mavericks.
Nice.
But that would also entail if they're players like Jalen Brunson and obviously Spencer Dinwiddie complement Luka Doncic. But like I said, if they somehow find a way to be consistent, I just hope that Monty Williams does not do any mismatches to where the point that none of the bigs are going to be able to be used in this series. So that's my only fear. And I think Monty's too smart for that. But then again, I could be wrong. And G-Money's right. Can't Jason Kidd make the proper adjustments and take that next step to prove that he actually is a very good coach and not the head coach that we saw when he was coaching Giannis Antetokounmpo when he was starting to be on the rise. But we'll see. All right, Doug Banks, go ahead, man.
All right. Just to piggyback off what you said, that would be an interesting matchup if the Mavericks were somehow to make the finals, because then you would have Giannis's former coach, who Giannis admit that he liked before they fired him, against the Milwaukee Bucks. The Luka and Giannis, that would be an interesting dynamic right there. But I don't think it's going to happen. But that would be kind of interesting. I have the Suns winning in 6. Could possibly go 7. Because of some of the reasons that Gideon stated. I don't think they're going to stop Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is going to get going in that mid-range and kind of do what he did against the Pelicans. So he's going to kind of be the Suns' X factor. Really, I think throughout the playoffs, Chris Paul is going to be has always been their X factor anyway. In general, when you look at when the Suns have won playoff series, Chris Paul has been the main X factor, especially when Booker can't get it going or he gets double teamed. Chris Paul kind of steps up there and kind of helps out, and he also is kind of there. He kind of settles things for their offense, as far as clock management and sharing the ball and stuff like that as well. So, I think Chris Paul is gonna be tough to stop in this series, and you made a good point about Aiden. With them not having much of a presence inside, they can do some of that pick and roll with Chris Paul, Aiden, or even Devin Booker, and get going like that, and offensively. And I think for the Mavs, I think Luka's gonna, for them to win, Luka's gotta be Luka, and I don't think they're gonna. It's not really much you can do to stop Luka. Luka's really skilled for for his size and everything. So I think ultimately Like you said, Jalen Bronson,
Dinwiddie.
I'm sorry, Dinwiddie. I don't know why I thought his name was Dinwiddie, but Dinwiddie and those other guys are gonna have to step up if the Mavs want to win this series. But I do got the Suns winning in 6. Also, I think the experience is gonna play a role too. Just those guys being there and knowing what to do in certain situations. I think Luka and the Mavs are still kind of figuring that out, especially with now with their new head coach and Jason Kidd, who just kind of got there not so long ago. So, I got the Suns in 6.
Yeah, and even though I said that, like, there's some potential things that might happen, because again, those are just some things that I just thought in terms of what the league might try to transition to. But I just on paper, the Suns are a little bit more deeper than Dallas, and like I said, I don't think I think Monty has got more coaching tricks in his bag than Jason Kidd. That's just from what I see. I just don't know if Jason Kidd is going to make the proper adjustments. And like I said, trust me, I think Monty from last year is out to prove something and prove that the mistakes that we made last year in the finals in terms of guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, Ayton really can't guard Giannis, but I just felt like there was some defensive schemes he could have put that he decided not to do, and it ended up costing him the series, especially when the Suns went up 2-0. But I think against the Mavericks, I think he's going to make sure that they don't. He's going to do his very best to make sure that the Suns are not caught in mismatches against Luka to play in his hands. So again, this is why I got the Suns in. I got the Suns at 6, and then move on to the Western Conference Finals. All right. Now, we already had talked about a little bit about the Celtics, and I still don't believe in Kidd. If Kidd can get it done in this series, then I'm a believer in J. Kidd. Until then, I'm not a believer in J. Kidd.
Oh, you want to ask Dub Banks who he thinks is going to get past Boston and Milwaukee?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot to ask that since it was okay. So who do you have between Boston and Milwaukee in that series?
I got Milwaukee. They'll win either in 6 or 7. I think the experience is a part of it. I do think Boston does present an interesting matchup in the series, of being that they're athletic and they have size, and they're really good defense. They communicate well. They rotate, and Tatum is coming up. But I do still think ultimately the Bucks are the better team in this series, and I think Giannis. I don't think they're gonna really be able to stop Giannis. To be honest, I think there's some things they can do as far as clogging up the paint and stuff like that. But with what the Bucks have, they got guys that can spread you out. BP can come off the bench and knock down threes. Grayson Allen can knock down shots. Obviously Holiday can get going as a point guard. Plus I admire his defensive prowess as well. So those are some of the reasons I got the Bucks winning in either 6 or 7. I could see it going 7 though, because Boston is a really good team. But Bucks in 6 or 7.
Do you think Chris Middleton comes back in the series?
See, I forgot about that. I think he's gonna have to. They want to win. They want to win this series. I do think he's gonna have to. I think they can afford to have him they can afford to play without him for at least a couple games. But if he doesn't come back, then I do still think the Bucks can win, because I do think they have enough for this series. But it just be because Middleton's a big part of their offense. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of like their Kevin Durant, in the sense like he really takes a lot of pressure off of Giannis. Right. And but I do think in a sense they have enough to where like they could probably win a couple games in the series without Middleton. But I do think Middleton got to come back. They want to win the series.
You know what? I think. Hold on, real quick, G Money. I said, to me, if I'm Coach Bud, I kind of do the same thing that the Warriors were actually doing with Steph Curry. Have Middleton come off the bench until he can feel himself enough that he's able to defend, because I think you could have him just play some effective minutes to where he could just provide offense where he doesn't really have to defend much. The Bucks are deep enough that they are a good defensive team where I think they can hold their own against Boston. Get Middleton into a little bit of basketball shape until he's confident enough on that MCL that he could go out and guard people. because they will miss him defensively. But I think at least offensively, so that he's not doing as much, have him come off the bench, or have him work his way in that series, and then obviously when the games really matter, have him start to where he could be, effective as a starter. Go ahead, G-Money.
Right. I mean, Milwaukee is deep when it comes to the starting fight. The bench is not very deep, though. That's the thing that's my concern. Their bench is not very deep for the Bucks, though. That's my concern. If the Bucks are healthy, I agree the Bucks would win the series in 7 games. But at the same time, TD Garden's tough to win there. Boston's been dominant at home this year. Man, they're dominant at home. And don't forget, Lou, they're dominant on the road, too. They're destroying teams on the road. There was a span they won by 25-plus points on the road multiple times, though. Against Brooklyn, they were in close games because they showed IQ. They got in the transition, got the flush and steals, though, and got in the runouts, though. If Middleton is not healthy, I think the Celtics still win in 7 because I think both teams are evenly matched. If Middleton is healthy, give me the Bucks in 7, though. But it's a series that's going to be tough. Expect a lot of close games, man. It's going to be close. Trust me.
I agree with that.
Games. Yeah.
Oh no, this is going to be the second round. I just think with the matchups are going to be great. Well, with the exception of this one, and now we get to the last one. Sixers and Heat before we close out this show. And unfortunately, like we already know about the orbital injury to Joel Embiid. How do you see this series turning out if Embiid is not able to come back in the series? And how much do the Heat win by if they advance to the Eastern Conference Finals? Because I have the Heat winning, but I won't give my prediction there. Go ahead.
Come on, Miami's winning this.
Yeah. If Embiid doesn't come back, Miami is 7. I already don't trust the Sixers anyway. They almost squandered that lead against the Raptors, but they did come back strong and close out in 6. It should have never got there in the first place, but it did. In part because Embiid was hurt, so I think he had a thumb injury or something like that. That affected him. Yeah, so that's big. That's part of why the Raptors came back. So Miami is a good defensive team. Jimmy Butler is going to be tough. Is Bam Adebayo still on that team?
Bam's still on the team, yeah.
Yeah, he's still on the team.
Yeah. Bam is going to especially factor in if Embiid can't play. He's going to factor into that series. So
he's going to feast in that series.
Yeah. So I think Miami could win this in 7. If Embiid comes back and was what he was before, well, he should be fine. Because it depends. I don't know the severity of that injury, that orbital injury. So I don't know if it's going to affect his vision or whatever. Plus, he's coming off concussion too. So
yeah.
So that's going to be big. Yeah, I'm gonna say Miami in 7.
Oh, you think it's going 7 games even without Embiid?
I think it. Yeah. Because the Sixers still. But at the same time, I don't know, because I don't fully trust James Harden either. He has
down in the playoffs. Up and down in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's up and down. So, yeah, you got a point there. I'll say Miami 6, but if Embiid comes back, then it can go 7. If Embiid comes back and
This is why the Sixers are not going to beat the Heat. James Harden, Joel Embiid, and Glenn Rivers. That's all you need to know. And the reason being is because we already know we can't trust James Harden in the playoffs. And he makes a lot of excuses. He thought leaving Brooklyn and trying to hide Joel Embiid was actually going to save him until Joel Embiid got injured. That's number 1. Number 2, Joel Embiid, he was getting punked out by some of the Raptor bigs. Bam Adebayo, he's going to get punked by Bam Adebayo because Bam Adebayo is a physical player in his own right. And Joel Embiid might get pushed around, and that's only if he plays. That's only if he plays. Doc has made a living as a master of making no adjustments. He was getting all this credit about the adjustments he made against the Toronto Raptors. Stop it. Now you're going to be facing a real basketball team in the Miami Heat. I want to see what adjustments or non-adjustments is Doc Rivers going to make. And trust me, it's going to be the same old story again. He got saved with that first-round series from being the all-time choking embarrassment of his coaching career. He got so lucky with that. And he's going to get exposed again in this series because it's already saying it right now. He's already got 1 foot in and 1 foot out because, according to reports, he might be the next Lakers head coach. You don't think that they're going to lose the series? And next, breaking news: Doc Rivers is the head coach of the Los Angeles. I can already see it coming. And like I said, knowing Daryl Morey since he's with James Harden, do not be surprised if Mike D'Antoni makes a coaching return to the Philadelphia 76ers. Then they're really done.
Very, very possible. And again, I don't want to go too far ahead and keep an eye on this. Do not be surprised if the Miami Heat are in the NBA Finals. Do not be surprised, man. With Milwaukee being injured and Boston, I don't think Boston's beating Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. Do not be surprised if Miami's in the NBA Finals on ABC. Don't be surprised if we're wearing sunglasses in the beach watching Heat games. Don't be surprised, man.
I'm sorry, but I actually am not a big believer in Miami if they were to face the Boston Celtics. This Celtics team is just different. I don't see Miami. Boston's going to have trouble against Miami, but I think Boston this time would beat Miami. If you look at the way these guys are playing with their defense, I would even argue that their defense is a tad better than the Miami Heat's. And if you look at what Grant Williams has done off the bench, and Peyton Pritchard, and then Robert Williams can honestly he can nullify Bam Adebayo, honestly, to be honest with you, if they were to match up inside, as long as he's healthy. And then you have shout out to Mike, he says what's up. Make sure you guys hit the like. Like I said, I don't have big faith in Miami. Listen, I trust them more beating Philly than I do with Milwaukee and Boston. I just feel like, to me, those two teams might be a tad better than Miami because, again, with Miami, it's at least with go-to players. Milwaukee's got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Boston's got Jason Tatum. Who does Miami have?
I mean, if you want to make a case, I guess Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
But my problem with Jimmy Butler is that he doesn't always bring it fourth quarter. 1 minute he does, and another game he doesn't. At least with Tatum and Giannis, I could get more consistency out of them than I do Jimmy Butler. And I feel like that, to me, is going to be the difference.
I mean, I get your point, but you also have to understand that Kyle Lowry has also been there. Kyle Lowry can also slow down. Kyle Lowry is also one of the best on-ball defenders, too. PJ Tucker, too. He's a great on-ball defender and can hit the corner three. Don't be surprised if he slows down Jaylen Brown. And listen, I know Marcus Smart said big shots, but he can shoot you in the game and he can shoot you out of the game sometimes. He's hot and cold sometimes. And yes, I know Jason Tatum has hit big shots, but Jason Tatum can be inconsistent too. And also, I just think that Bam Adebayo is also a good perimeter defender himself. Don't sleep on that too, man. I just think that Miami is one of the best defensive teams as far as guarding the perimeter, and they're good at guarding the interior, man. So I will not be surprised if Robert Williams struggles in that series, man. Milwaukee, I agree with you on Milwaukee. If Milwaukee is fully healthy, I agree with you. Milwaukee would beat Miami, but Boston, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I would choose the Heat over the Celtics in 7 because I think Tucker's the X factor. Tyler Hero, do not sleep on Tyler Hero. That could be a series that can get off.
G-Money, I got a counter for that with the Miami Heat. You mentioned Kyle Lowry, right?
Yeah.
Even though he won a championship with Kawhi Leonard, what have we known about Kyle Lowry in his playoff career?
Up and down the playoffs?
He's very up and down, and you have to also remember something. Kyle Lowry's not young anymore. He's 36 years old, 37 years old. So
he's up there.
He's up there in age. To be asking him to try, and I get it. He's a pick bulldog, and he's going to give you 110% as much as he can. But he's also been known to get injury prone at this time of year as well. So there's that.
He's kind of like Chris Paul.
Yeah, but same thing with Tatum and Brown. Smart. Same thing with Tatum, Brown, and Smart. They're injury prone too.
Yeah, but what I'm basically saying is Jaylen Brown's a little more consistent, and I can count on him more. And the thing is that again, when it comes to be in the fourth quarter, we saw it against the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think that's honestly gonna. I would be surprised if that were to happen. Anything can happen, but Victor Oladipo is another player that can also shoot you in and shoot you out of games as well. And they're both on the same team with the Miami Heat. I have a little more faith in Boston in terms of the consistency that I can get out of them compared to what I would get out of those players. That's what I see. Because with Jimmy Butler, again, he's another player where you just never know. And with that much inconsistency, that's going to be an issue. And then Tyler Hero. He's been consistent pretty much all year. He went up against the Hawks. He's going up against, Philadelphia, again, different. But again, against a Boston defense that's playing, that.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's a little bit different now. If you would have told me Boston from last year, I give Miami no question about it. But there's just something different about this team this year that I would just say.
Yeah.
I get your point, but is Grant Williams, Payton Pritchard going to keep this up? We don't know. Is Jason Tatum going to continue to be consistent? Because remember, Jason Tatum struggles against great defensive teams. Let's be honest. Same thing with Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart at times. Again, the Celtics are a good team, but remember, they cooked a horrible defensive Nets team. Let's see what they do against great defensive teams that can also swarm the perimeter too.
Well, no. Well, let me counter once again that the Nets are not a great defensive team, but Jason Tatum did struggle in that series when it came to shooting the basketball. He only had one good shooting game all series. So even the Nets being a terrible defensive team, Tatum really didn't play his best. The key thing with Tatum was he may have not started games well, but he finished games well. Mark of a superstar. And not a superstar yet, but he's starting to show that. And to me, that's what's going to make Tatum even a better, more consistent player is the fact that.
And held Kevin Durant to 15 points. So he's found a way to get it going defensively as well.
Which I'll give you guys that. But I just got to see Boston gets great defensive teams. And also, don't forget, Miami can force turnovers. Boston can be careless sometimes. Miami can force turnovers on Boston. Don't sleep on that. So that's what I'm saying too. So and Miami is rim protection. You have Adebayo to protect the rim. Again, I know Oladipo is streaky, but so is Grant Williams. So is Pritchard. So is Tatum. So is Brown. So is Smart. Yeah, we have to understand that. I'm sorry, man. I would love to see a Celtics in the finals. I would love to see them in the NBA finals. But I'm sorry, man. If the Bucks were healthy, I would pick the Bucks. But since they're not, I think the Heat will be in the NBA finals as of right now, if Middleton is not 100%. But we will find out.
The thing is that now that what I'm looking at the Miami Heat, I've always said that they were a dark horse to at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But this is why the bubble is always looking, and I get it. And this is why I always refer back to the bubble. This is why I always refer back to the bubble for this reason, because it seems to be really shaky when you look at how Miami went to the finals run. And I get it. They had players that were injured, and this year they were able to get the number one. They were able to get the number one spot with how competitive the East was this season. But I just feel like the more chances Miami fails to make the finals, it's really going to expose how bad that bubble was, especially when you consider how all these circumstances had to happen where most teams didn't want to be there. Some teams got surprisingly knocked in when you look at Milwaukee, when they were expected to win and they had the best record in the league, and all of a sudden they didn't want to be there and they lost in embarrassing fashion at the hands of
They lost in 5, didn't they?
They lost
in 5. Gentlemen swept. They almost got swept.
Yeah, and 5 games, and then the next year they returned the favor and they couldn't even get one, despite the injuries. So it's interesting. That's why. And then obviously you look at the Lakers the 2 years after that bubble, first round exit and failed to make the play-in, which is why it's like the more you look at it, it's like, you're starting to look at that bubble a little bit different. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, these are our playoff matchups, as we've said. So right now we have Phoenix, we have Golden State advancing, we got
Memphis.
You got Memphis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got Golden State. Yeah,
I have Golden State. We have everybody's in agreement on the Miami Heat advancing because of that situation.
Yeah.
And then with the Bucks and the Celtics, it can definitely be a toss-up. I'm gonna go with like I said, it depends on Middleton. This is really going to depend on Middleton, so it's hard for me to pick with that. So I'm just gonna say that. But man, this was a fire stream. I can't lie, man. I want to thank Dub Banks and I want to thank G Money for coming on through.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on, Lewis.
Thank you.
No doubt. Tomorrow I'm gonna be doing I'm just gonna be doing a conversation. I'm not gonna have a live panel obviously tomorrow because I got some things going on and I'm gonna be going to City Field to watch the Mets play tomorrow.
Nice.
But I will be doing we'll be having a conversation with you guys in the morning before the game between Boston and Milwaukee because I know it's gonna be a great game. So I will be talking with you guys tomorrow, but like I said, once again, I want to thank Doug Banks and G Money. You guys were great guests. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And let me just say this real quick. The reason I was mentioning about Giannis being the best player in the world was kind of really to offset the Kevin Durant fans that kept saying KD's the best and all this kind of stuff. Now, let me say this about Kevin Durant because there's a few people out there that keep saying that I've turned my back on KD. And that I'm not keeping that same energy of LeBron missing the play-in. Ladies and gentlemen, I cooked LeBron James and the Lakers. That was the worst season in NBA history by a team that had 3 top 75 players, and you can make a case 4, and you could even make a case that Dwight Howard should have been on the top 75.
Yeah, Dwight Howard, Melo.
They were predicted.
Yeah.
They were predicted. They had the second best odds to win the NBA title.
Mm-hmm.
They did not get it done. Okay? They did not get it done, and I cooked LeBron for that because he was a horrible leader throughout the year. And I hate the fact that his damn fanboys kept making so many goddamn excuses. You call yourself a leader. How do you expect a 37-year-old in year 19? Do you understand that the media kept talking about how LeBron was in year 19 like if we don't freaking know that? That's how annoying it was. And the fact that I found out that every time the Lakers lost, and I saw the team graphic, LeBron was not even in a single one. They put Russ, they put AD, they put Dwight Howard, they put Malik Monk, they put Reeves, but there was no mention of LeBron on any of those losing graphic losses and any of the pictures this year. And LeBron, our young guys, they didn't really have playoff experience, but the Pelicans do. And
that was disrespectful by LeBron.
And I said the Pelicans don't really have playoff experience. What are we talking about? See, this is the problem that I'm saying. He kept making excuses. And I said, you know how I know that the Lakers weren't going to make the playoffs? It was the game against the Milwaukee Bucks. What did LeBron say when Anthony Davis got cooked by Giannis Antetokounmpo? He said, we can't reach that level. He said, we're not on that level of the Milwaukee Bucks. We can't reach that championship level. Once I heard that, they were done.
Nope.
They were done. And the thing is, the Lakers had more than enough time to get into the playoffs, more than enough time to get it together, but they just didn't. It's Anthony Davis. Oh, well, if we would have been, what if we were fully healthy? A bunch of excuses. It's the Laker front office pointing at LeBron and Clutch Sports, LeBron throwing Papalinka under the bus, praising Sam Presti. Like, I cook LeBron on that. It's the worst season. You can't make that excuse. And the thing is, people are just like, how can you have LeBron as a leader, but then excuse him because he played well? He stat padded those numbers, man. I don't want to hear it. He stat padded. I want to hear that. So let me say this as well. This is why I cook Kevin Durant. According to you and Kyrie Irving, y'all didn't need a head coach. That's what Kyrie said. Now I get it. They dealt with injuries. James Harden bolted. They traded for Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons didn't play. I said that the organization. I thought it was gonna help the Nets because I thought Ben was actually gonna be able to play, but Ben all he cares about is his money, and he never showed up. And the thing is, people said after beating the Cleveland Cavaliers that the Nets were going to win the NBA title. That's what I heard. And I said against the Boston Celtics, I picked Brooklyn because I thought that momentum from the Cleveland game was going to help them become and play better. But when I look at this construction of this team and Steve Nash, I said to myself, I kept saying to myself, yeah, I picked Brooklyn to win, but I just felt like the fact that Steve Nash doesn't really make adjustments, I can't really see them winning. And what happened? It wasn't just that the fact that they didn't win, they got swept. They got swept.
Yeah.
They didn't win a single game. And if you
And
look
they barely beat the Cavs in the play-in. If the Cavs just knew how to execute, the Cavs would have knocked them out.
they had
Right.
a couple
And the cast injuries too.
The Cavs had injuries. They were right there. Cleveland almost beat them. Like, they never let in that game. If Karis LeVert giving them something in that game, if Isaiah Okoro giving them something in that game, if Jared Allen had played, you can make an argument the Cavs would have been in the Nets in that playing game.
Honestly, and that would have been a better matchup too. The Cavs and Boston, in my opinion.
Cavs and Celtics, you can make an argument.
Yeah, no, definitely. I said fully healthy. I said the Cavaliers gave a better matchup to the Miami Heat for sure. And this is what I'm saying now. For those who think that I turned on Kevin Durant, I haven't turned on Kevin Durant. I've been saying this for the longest time. Kevin Durant is not a leader. Never did I ever say he's not a great player. He's been an MVP in this league. He's been on an NBA Finals without the Golden State Warriors. And people keep misconstruing Charles Barkley's words. Charles Barkley said, he never said that Kevin Durant is a bus rider. He said when it was time to be the bus driver. When it was time to be the bus, that's completely different. Kevin Durant has folded. So my thing with Kevin Durant is he has an opportunity next year. Hopefully the Brooklyn Nets can stay healthy. Hopefully the Brooklyn Nets can construct this roster the right way. Hopefully the Brooklyn Nets can fire Steve Nash and bring in a head coach that is going to hold his players accountable, and they're actually going to run actual offensive sets, and they actually become a better defensive team. Because if you look at the way Kevin Durant played defense in this series, it was flat out pathetic. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care for the Durant fanboys that are talking all this crap. He did not play great defense, and it's part of the reason why Durant has not made an all-defensive team. People can talk to me about his Achilles injury all he wants. He showed flashes, but Kevin Durant has never made an all-defensive team pre-injury. So I don't want to hear it. But I will say this. I want Kevin Durant to shut me up. I want Kevin Durant to shut his haters up. I want Kevin Durant to hopefully get a healthy team. They get chemistry. They get in sync. They're able to make a run at the NBA championship, because this is what I said. KD should have stayed with Golden State, but the media made him leave because of the narrative with Steph Curry. That's why.
Which is another problem with KD is that he focuses too much on what other people think, the outside noise, instead of just doing his own thing. And so a lot of times he'll let that get to him, and you can tell it affects him on the court. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Fan says something and he don't like it, and then sometimes, or if his own teammates even. I mean, we saw that between him and Draymond.
He has to ignore that stuff. He has to ignore that stuff, man. Like you said.
Yeah. You just gotta ignore that.
There's certain things you cannot respect, man. There's certain things you just cannot respect. You just can't. Just don't respect it. Ignore it. Move on with your life, man. And like you said, Doug Banks, just be thick-skinned, and just be your own man. I don't mind him leaving Golden State, going to Brooklyn, but that's just me personally. But it's like, you know, the Nets just got to build the right team. And also Durant, like you said, needs to be a leader. It's not just talking. Action. And Kyrie Irving, man, bro, put your beliefs aside, man, and ball out on the court, man. He was garbage too in this series after game one.
And that's another problem we made with Kyrie Irving. If he doesn't score the basketball, what else does he do on the basketball court? You could be a better defender. I mean, you proved it playing against Steph Curry in the finals. How come you have not made a defensive team yourself? You should be better than that. And you should be a better playmaker because you're capable of doing it, but all you care about is trying to be a 6'2" Kobe Bryant. Yeah, you've been efficient. You've shown your efficiencies for sure, but I'm sorry. And I'm going to say this now. This is their opportunity because they're going to hear it all season from the LeBron fanboys. They're going to hear it all season about how they didn't get it done. So my thing with them is they got a chance at redemption next year. Hopefully they can be healthy. I want to see this team do well and hopefully win an NBA championship so that Kevin Durant could be shown that he can lead the team to an NBA title.
Without a super team, because the Nets are not a super team now, let's be honest. Harden made them a super team. But if it's just KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons or no Ben Simmons, it's not a super team.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was saying, like, KD currently not top 5 until proven otherwise. So, like you, to Lewis's point, they do have a chance. They need to get a better coach. They may have to retool their roster a little bit. I think they need to get some reliable big men that will help them in the interior, and help their defense, and get to work in the off season. And
bench too. They got to fix their bench.
The bench got to get better too.
Yeah, man.
Although I do like some of their pieces, but they can do some. They got too many old players. That's the thing. I think they need to get younger a little bit.
They gotta get younger. All right, man. All right, guys. I'm gonna call it a night. Salute to Doug Banks and G Money. Salute to all the chat. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, if you would like to donate to the channel, definitely check out the links in the description and also check out the links in the comment section all the way up top. Like I said, not an obligation, but you're more than welcome to do it if you guys want. All right, guys, bless up. Appreciate you guys as always, man. Until next time we do this next stream, again, I'll have another live panel. You already know what it is. Lewis Sports Network. Have a wonderful night. I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Appreciate you guys as always. Like, share, subscribe, and you already know what to do. Monkeys in the truck. Hit that outro. Love you guys. Appreciate the support. And I'm gone.
So many times, and I just wish they would just stop. You know what I mean? Just stop. I mean, he was, Michael Jordan. I'm Kobe Bryant. I mean, we're two different players, and I wish people would just let it go. It really annoys me because you can't compare